Good morning and welcome to Old Town Cleveland here on Whoop FM 99.9, or you can go to the internet at www.whoopfm.com. You can call us here at 614-5553. Debbie Moore, my lovely wife, tell us what's going on today.
Good morning. It's November the 2nd, and we've already discussed all the things we can't discuss on the air.
So boy, I'm so embarrassed.
We are having so much fun in here this morning. We've got John England and Willie Gregg in here. We're going to be talking about the downtown area from the 60s and the 70s, all the things that you remember. So write down our numbers, 614-5553.
I got to ask John quick, did you measure up?
We had a lot
talking about Thomas Hills.
We're just going to move on.
We're
just
talking
going to
about
move
Thomas
on.
Hills. If anybody remembers Thomas Hills, call in.
They probably know that story, but we're going to talk about all the old businesses down there. And, you know, that was a day and time when an individual could have a dream and start a business and be very successful at it. And there were some people in Cleveland that gave a lot of people jobs and made a big difference in everyone's lives. And we're going to talk about those people today.
There's a few places down there you could have a drink, too.
I kind of heard that before.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that was
But we're going to talk about what was up in the attics and down in the basement and all the old buildings downtown.
Okay, so who we got here with us?
We have John England, who's been on the show with us before, and Willie Gregg, who's been on with us before. And I think they've just met each other today. Yeah. And so that's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to talk about lots of good things. And we were talking to our good friend Doug at breakfast this morning down at the diner on First Street. And he's going to call in with some stories about Abel's.
Yeah.
Someone asked about the Stamper's ghost. No, we don't have the Stamper's ghost in here this morning.
Well, I hope not.
Is that Doug Guerin?
Yeah. We try not to say his name too loud.
Good friend.
Yeah, Doug's a good guy.
Doug. And hi, Pat. Big brother.
I told people last week on the show is that we would talk about Abel Hardware, and I got my first Pee Wee Herman bicycle at Abel Hardware. And my dad says, well, I'm going to let you buy it. You know, I was 6 or something like that. So I had to rake the leaves and things in the yard, and that was my lesson into earning money. And I think it was a $5 a month payment or something on it, and I had to work for like 5 months to get my $25 bicycle with the fenders and the luggage racks and the bells and the tassels. After
watching American Pickers, I wish you still had that bicycle.
Oh yeah, they do too. Yeah,
you're not you're not the Stingray generation. That was
when you're 6, all those lights and bells and buzzles, and then it became the banana seat and the handlebars later
that's
on.
A Stingray.
Yeah, that's what I had to have later on. But my first bicycle was that big with big 20-inch tires on it, and ding, 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 ding. Big time. I didn't know I was a nerd then.
I had to put mine together. Before Kentucky Fried Chicken, things were pretty thin around the England household at times, and instead of getting a new Schwinn bike, I'd get a Sears bike for Christmas, and so I learned how to become a mechanic pretty quickly by putting that Sears bicycle together.
Well, see, now I live next door to Stacy Cry's gas station down in Spring Place.
Right.
So I learned how to change all the flat tires for all the kids' bicycles. That was my job at Stacy Cry's.
Yeah.
And also I swept the floor, and that's what kept me from out under his feet.
Yeah.
So basically what that was. So
Willie, when you were growing up, the Inman Street stopped.
Yes.
Do you remember when the extension went in on downtown? Was the village here then, or was the village a dream at that time, you think?
I think the village was more of a dream at that time.
Yeah, it's 5960 when they started building it,
I believe in 1962 or 63, the village, 62 maybe, was finished. I think we opened that
And
thing.
Key Street opened about the same time, right?
I think so.
Willie, you worked downtown. Did you move to the village then, or did you?
No,
you
we
stayed
stayed
downtown.
We were right there across from. We had the old Merchants Bank. We had it, and we had, the 2 stores next to it, who Gene Calloway owned those. So we got to where we expanded. So we took the men's department on over a little farther, and rented that building, knocked that wall down, and but there were some pretty spooky things around that Merchants Bank. You could, if you was real lucky, you could go down in the basement now, and of course that's where they used to have a little dinner thing the Merchants Bank employees go down there and eat, but it held a lot of water for some reason later on. Had a lot of marble, beautiful marble. So we didn't linger down there too long. We'd go down and maybe see if there's something there we might need, but we never did stay
Where
down
did you
there
work?
too long.
No, where are you talking about?
This was on the corner, where Merchants Bank
Yeah.
was on right there.
Did you work at Abel's? Is that what we're?
No, I worked at Thomas Hill Bledsoe.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So Abel's was still, in
Yeah.
business, big growing,
That's where,
spiraling business.
and that's for people who don't know. That's where the Bank of Cleveland's offices are now. Was Abel's was in the downtown
Yeah.
part of that, right?
yeah,
But now, are you talking about the basement of the old Merchants
the
Bank?
old one,
And so
right on
it
the
was
corner.
on the east side of the Ocoee Street. Okay.
It's on the
Yeah.
side where Central Drug was, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. I don't recall it being there, but
Well, see, Merchants Bank, if you remember, it was right here. This was Lay's department store was right here. Merchants Bank was right here side by side.
okay, I remember Lay's because it had toys
And
in
then
it.
you go back, and then there was a little alley there you drove through, and then on down was Hardwick Men's Store.
Lay's. You also got popcorn
Yeah,
Oh,
man,
did
you
that
could smell
popcorn
that
smell-
stuff.
oh.
We could
and marbles. That's where I got
Yeah,
my marbles.
I remember Mr. McKee,
oh yeah.
and they ate with us. He and his wife ate at Kentucky Fried Chicken with us all the time, and they were wonderful people. And I believe that Mr. McKee worked there for many years.
Many years.
I love the stories about Kentucky Fried Chicken when you came on talking about how they had to have a policeman on Sunday to
Oh,
direct the
yeah.
traffic.
Right.
And so, if someone doesn't know, where's the original building still standing down there? Where is it?
And it's still almost exactly structurally the same, except for the signs. The outside is exactly as it was. And it's a Cleveland Loan and Finance. It's right there next door to where OK Tire was. What's Mickey, our banker, local Mickey? What's
Torbett?
Yeah,
Torbett, yeah.
I remember. I still can visualize Mickey Torbett at age 16 driving a hot rod car, working at OK Tire, and I'd be over in the Inman Street Kentucky Fried Chicken, and I'd look across there, and I said, "Looks like Mickey's having more fun than I am because he's putting on a new set of mag tires for somebody or something." But yeah, and you had that telephone pole. There was a telephone pole
It is
right
still
there. You had to
there.
negotiate around. But actually, Dave Thomas of Wendy's fame had a little bit to do with designing that building. Dave Thomas pioneered the drive-through window in restaurants. It wasn't McDonald's. It wasn't Burger King. It was Dave Thomas. And if you think back, when they opened the Wendy's out here, it was the first national, say top 5 fast food restaurant that had a drive-through window. But Dave Thomas had been working on that for 20 years before, when he was a vice president and worked with Harlan Sanders at Kentucky Fried Chicken. Harlan Sanders actually found him and sort of discovered him working in a restaurant in Indianapolis and offered him a job. Dave Thomas had a lot to do with a lot of the early KFC image, and like the big flashing signs and the bucket that turned, and also the drive-through window. And that little Inman Street store had a drive-through window, and so Dave Thomas was part of the design.
Yeah,
of
I've
that
worn
building.
out one shoulder because of drive-throughs. I had to have it worked on.
Willie, when John was on earlier too, he said that his dad really had to fight to get indoor seating at the Key Street Kentucky Fried Chicken.
That I don't doubt. 'Cause,
Yeah,
I mean,
because that was just not anything you
that
did
was
then.
just
Right.
the thing,
It was a grab and go kind of place,
Right.
and he asked for the indoor seating,
Right.
so that happened here in
Right.
Cleveland too. And
All
I
right.
think that's just something a lot of people don't know.
Abel's Hardware. What all was in there?
They
Now,
had
I
it
remember.
all.
I remember bicycle, but I remember
Right.
being in there a lot, but I don't remember what else was
They
in.
had toys. They had
In the basement, they had toys. That's what I
That's where
remember.
I
I always
got-
made a beeline for the basement.
That's a
for the
spooky
toys.
basement down there.
It was a little dark, but they had a great selection of toys down there in the basement, and also they had hardware. They were a hardcore hardware store. If you remember, like, you'd walk into Beatty's and they'd have all the nails
Yes.
in those big pans.
Yeah.
And you'd weigh Abel's had that too. Over on the right side, that would be, I'm kind of going by my photographic memory that I have. And one reason that I know that is my neighbor, Winston Brown, who's Eddie Brown's dad,
Okay.
worked at Abel's up there. And so you walk in, and you kind of went to the right, and it was hardcore hardware. You could buy doorknobs and locks, nails, tools. And if you went to the left, that was furniture. My mama would never let me go over into that section.
I wonder why, John.
Because there was a lot of furniture. But up at Abel's, when they saw us coming, Clark Stamper always had Otto, who was the granddaddy, on standby to keep me out of that gift shop part with all the glass.
I've got
Otto's in our documentary.
Is
I don't
he?
know if you saw it or
Yeah.
not, but it's a picture of him from the 1920s,
he ran the
probably.
little store that delivered to Candy Creek.
And his hair's shaved about 4 inches above his ears all the way around. I mean, it was a real modern haircut for
Now,
back
they
then, I'm
had
sure.
you sell guns in hardware store too. You
Yeah.
get your shotguns and
Right.
22 shells.
You
And,
could buy anything. You could even buy baby furniture.
Right.
They had high chairs.
Appliances.
I mean, they had tops of the line
Okay.
stuff.
Someone asked me about this, and I didn't realize. I heard it before that Claude Clymer repaired watches and
He did,
and clocks. I think they're in at Abel's.
Yeah, that's where he was set up right there.
I wonder how he learned to do that.
Well, I don't know. I guess just by trial and experience.
And people
Okay.
talk about they used to go in and he'd get those watches and work with those tiny little screws and
So-
things like that.
yeah,
and,
so tiny.
Well, see, I didn't know Claude Clymer. Then, of course, everyone knows Claude Clymer after he got elected and stayed
Yeah.
elected for, I guess, nearly 30 years at the courthouse. And,
That's when watches had the, you take them. How many jewels is in it?
Yeah.
Now they don't count the jewels.
No.
But they
Nobody,
had-
I mean,
well, watches are about gone now because
Ron and
everybody
I
carries
both
their cell
quit.
phone.
yeah, I mean, they don't need them.
Yeah.
So I mean, everybody.
So was Stampers, not Stampers, but was Able a place that just common people bought furniture, or did they have really?
I think a lot of common people.
yeah,
did.
and then
They had
Stampers
a
maybe
layaway
was a little-
program, and Stampers was really uptown furniture. I mean,
And it still is.
Yeah,
If you
it's
folks have
so.
not been to Stampers downtown, you just need to go and walk through, and you'll get old fashioned service, good service.
good service.
Yeah, and we'd like to invite Joe Stamper to come on the show anytime he'd like
Hey,
to come
Joe,
on.
Joe Stamper, if you're listening, I
He
think
is.
you and I should come on here together because I believe we go way back.
I love it that you met Otto though.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
I think
Otto
Stampers,
Stamper.
Stampers had toys maybe seasonally.
They had. I think they started out actually as a hardware store downtown,
I
a lot
remember
like
when they sold-
Abel's.
They had guns. I remember when they had counters and hardware, and I guess my first memories of Stampers is when the bear broke in.
Broke out the glass. And,
It broke in, and
Do you guys remember the big clock that was outside of Horner's? I
Oh,
do. I saw
yes.
pictures. I've seen pictures, but I never
wonder
saw.
who got the thing or where it went.
I don't know. I hope the Horner family still has it, but I haven't seen it. But now their business is the what is it? Longest continuous operation of a
Operational business.
ophthalmologist office. And actually, this week I was looking back in some 1880 something newspapers and was finding indications that the Horners was there then. And
Well,
his
now,
aunt, the Horner's aunt, ran a hat shop.
Oh, yeah,
Millinery shop, is that what they called it? But operated a hat shop there too in the early 1900s.
I don't doubt that because they was really. They had another hat store down on past. I was trying to think of the woman's name. I believe she was Mary Nell Dooley. Maybe.
When we were driving in today, we passed the old Harshbarger Stratton store, and I'd like to say hats
that
off
was-
to Main Street Cleveland. They had contacted Ron and I several months ago and asked us about some pictures if they could use our pictures off of Old Town Cleveland, and we told them that they could, and I'm sure that they found them, some of them somewhere else. But they've made a collage of old pictures and it has Myra Inman's picture on it, and then the Bohemia.
Oh yeah.
And some downtown shots, and it was very very nicely done, and it's covered instead of just having an empty building. Well, they at least put up something very attractive on the window. So we need to encourage Main Street to continue to do that.
Since Harshbarger Stratton left there, that building's really never been occupied since
No.
then, has it? I mean,
No,
it's
just
always
a
been.
church, I think.
Yeah,
one
it
time
just-
was
but-
a
And I
church.
believe Ronnie Stratton listens to us some.
I believe there's apartments in the
Upstairs.
They
Yeah.
probably are.
Yeah.
Now I do remember going in there, and they had a downstairs.
That's
Yeah,
where
that
they
was
kept their fabrics.
that was Parks Belt. That was Parks Belt, and Polly Thomas, and all the Miss Polly. She was a grandmother of some of the Maples family. She ran the boys department
That's before
down in the
Harshbarger and
basement.
Stratton,
Yeah,
right? Okay.
yeah. Remember Miss
Yeah.
Polly, and also Miss Polly was over here when Parks Belt's
What's
but
Miss Polly's last name?
Thomas.
Polly
Thomas.
Thomas, uh-huh.
Yeah.
They had Kibler. I don't know, back over to Abel's. I can't think of her first name, but she was a Kibler, Jimmy Kibble's mother, and there was a Pearl there that worked there many years. And so there were a lot of people that really worked around there, and you
Yeah.
got to know those people. You know,
I think
really.
that's the difference in shopping
That's the
today is that
difference
when
in
you went
shopping.
in, you had the same person wait on you all the time.
Now, Abel's building went all the way up against the old Merchants Bank. They've torn one old section out there and made that drive-through, didn't they? Wasn't that a solid? I see here my picture here.
Yeah.
Yes,
Remember,
it
it was
was.
solid all the way up
It
through
was
there.
solid. There was buildings all the
Yeah,
way down through
yeah.
there.
And the Moneta or the Monet or whatever
the
that.
Monet was there at one time. Now that's before my time, I
Yeah.
believe.
Oh, that's 1920s. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think
a few years
was-
before you, Willie.
before I had any money. But
Before
the
you had any-
Monet was there,
Right,
and
yeah.
then other buildings. You know,
My memory of Abel's is, I bought a set of Wilson golf clubs when I was 12, and I had gotten tired of being teased about playing with a set of women's First Flight. First Flight golf clubs were made in Ooltewah back in the 1940s and 50s, and there's a future story.
Yeah.
That there's some kind of connection with First Flight golf clubs in Ooltewah, but I was playing with my mom's golf clubs, and I was constantly being teased about it, so I went up to Abel's and bought me a set of Wilsons. I still got the Woods.
I love it.
Bought a set of golf clubs. when
So
I was
you could
12
get
over there.
basically anything there
Sporting
at
goods, hardware, furniture, toys. Probably more than that, but
I remember going down and at the old Tasco store.
Mm-hmm.
And
was that Mr. Lackey?
Mrs.
That is
Lackey is still
Lackey was-
around.
Yeah.
And I have to kind of tell the story on Ron. Ron was doing a presentation on the Scopes monkey trials over in Dayton, and Mrs. Lackey was in the audience. And at that time, she was probably 95 or 96. And she
Yeah.
says, "Do you mind if I say anything?" Well, sure, go ahead. And she said, "I remember when that trial happened." I've never seen Ron speechless because you just weren't really expecting anybody to say
Well,
that.
that's 1925, and you're going, she was there, and I go, her.
And she was like 6 years old or
I go,
something.
That's pretty neat.
But she told us just from a child's standpoint what she remembered about it. And, of course, the Thompsons had a hardware store, too, down at Five Points.
yeah, and I went there a lot.
Horace
Yeah.
Thompson. And they had a lot of neat stuff. As a matter of fact, they kept that hardware store long past the time that most people, had those hardware stores.
And then Ganaway's.
Yeah, Ganaway's. Now I remember going.
Ganaway's sort of had horse tack and
Yes.
hardware, right?
Yeah. Go
Back
ahead.
there,
Tell us about it.
That Ganaway's down. What was
That's on
that?
First Street.
Yeah, on First
Kind of
Street.
right in there where Jim Webb's law
Probably,
firm.
yeah,
Right, yeah.
Jim's
Ben
offices.
Cleaners, maybe McIntyre Insurance.
Right,
A
yeah.
little strip right through there.
But my dad had a wheelchair, so he'd always go to Mr. Ganaway, and he could fix anything that he needed fixed, But we'd go in there, and it's like you say,
It was old school.
it was the old school.
Well,
Yeah,
if you
old
want to
school.
see his machinery that he stitched,
It's leather stitcher.
Yeah.
It's down at the
the museum center right now
Oh,
in their
really? I'd like to see
Cleveland
that.
Grows
Building up
exhibit.
Cleveland.
Oh, excuse me.
Building up Cleveland's the
Building
name
up
of it.
Cleveland. Building up Cleveland, yes. And it also shows pictures of
the Cherokee Hotel being built.
You can
I'd never
actually
seen that
see
piece.
the framing of it instead of
pretty
the outside of the building. I had never seen that, but there's some really neat things there. But I was glad to see, and you can still smell the leather on that piece
all
of
that-
machinery.
Right.
In Ganaway's out. We went in. I'd always try to get my dad to buy me a saddle. He said, "Well, we don't have a horse." I said, "Well, you got to have the saddle first, then you buy the horse."
His dad didn't
My
fall.
logic was working for me, but
But it didn't work too good
Yeah,
that
but-
way. But I remember Cherokee Hotel. I remember my mom worked there.
Mm-hmm.
She we had kind of a poor life, but she would do anything they had to do there except cook. So I got to go with her all the time. They had all these big rooms, big Indian room, had all these artifacts and everything. So I'd always get to go up there with her. And there was a Miss Speller and a Miss. There was a son of one of them. Miss Speller was one of them. Two ladies and their one son. And I would always get to go to the Christmas party. Now, it was something, I'm telling you. I'd go down there and help my mom wash some of those dishes up, and boy, Floyd and Si, they was the chefs back in the back.
Floyd and Si.
Floyd and Si.
And one of my memories of the Cherokee Hotel was I lived close enough to where I could be over here on a bicycle in about a minute, and so we roamed the town, and one of my memories is walking into the lobby, and all of the men were very, very well dressed businessmen,
Oh, yes.
with the suits and the hats and the luggage, and the smell of cigar smoke was so thick in there. They were all smoking a cigar. I guess they were out on the road, and they were traveling business people, but they were all very, very well dressed in suits and overcoats.
And then that
that's
big
my
jewelry
memory.
store right there.
Pinions.
Yeah.
Pinion, John
That's
Pinion
Pinion,
owned that,
yeah.
and that's where Mildred, his wife, Mildred Pinion, she worked there too, and that was still in business when Thomas Hill Bledsoe's was uptown, because I watched it close out, because I wanted to buy me one last piece from Pinion's.
There was a friend of mine whose grandmother cooked there at the Cherokee, and he thought that everybody ate off plates that had CH on them.
Yeah, 'cause they-
And all of his forks at home had CH
The
on them,
sheets.
and the sheets and his pillowcases had CH. He thought that's just what people did, but he didn't know that
They
was
didn't know this Cherokee
And,
Hotel.
Let's go back to the Indian rooms. Now, I'd always been under the impression that there were these huge portraits in there.
There were a lot of portraits of the Indians, big Indians, and the names of some of them, And
I know that down at the museum center right now, they have a print that came out of the hotel, and it's probably 14 by 16, and it's a print of Sequoia.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the kind of thing you're
that's
talking
kind
about.
of what
Okay.
I'm talking about. And the table seemed to be the longest table I ever saw. But it seated, every employee. And I remember Miss Speller, and they always gave you a big old box of candy. So that was a treat, now I'm telling you. So I was treated like, I was the only one that could help. And my mom was sick one week, so they didn't have nobody to do the dishes. I was tall enough to just barely look up there. But now, if the state inspectors had come in, I stood on boxes, and I run that machine through there, through those dishwashers. And they'd come over our side. Floyd would come over every now and then, catch me up. Lord, I'd get behind again. It was just over and over. But I'm just proud they didn't come in there inspecting that day. And they'd always fix me a bowl of chocolate and vanilla ice cream. So I'm sure that was against
So
the rules.
how was the food
But
there?
that was it was good food. Yeah, it was really good.
See, by the time I can, that we had started doing things, we were, everything was down at the Holiday Inn by then, and the hotel was kind of going downhill.
they had
But
that
it
big
was.
fountain down there.
Good morning. You're
fountain.
live on Old Town Cleveland.
Hey, Mr. Ron, how you doing this morning?
Hey.
Just remember there where used to be the Bank of Cleveland. There's a hardware store in there.
Yeah,
that's Abel's.
Able Hardware.
Yeah, I used to get my rabbit feed from there.
So you could get everything at Abel's.
Yeah, I used to raise rabbits back when I lived on Second Street there. I had as many as 20. It's wonderful they didn't get on to me about that. But and another thing I want to ask you is, you remember there on the ballpark curve right across from the USA Mortgage, there used to be an A&W root beer stand there.
Yes.
It's right there where they built that new laundromat. I think it's right behind where Dust Beauty Shop is, where they had that.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's where my mother worked, and she used to bring me home a hot dog and barbecue taste chips and root beer. I will never get that taste.
That's still
I
good today,
remember that
Bullet.
place. I
That's
remember it.
That's still good today, and I think that where Dust Beauty Shop is was Pasquale's to begin with.
Dealer's Auto Parts was there a long time.
What auto parts?
Dealers, the building's still there. It used to be Dealer's Auto Parts.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Have you ever found a T-shirt there that I won last night? Doc Hollywood supposed to put my name on a T-shirt there or something.
Ron's shaking
I
his
got
head.
it.
Yes.
Ron's got it in the air right here.
We got it.
I'll probably come there around 12, and I don't know what it looks like. But no, there's a bunch of things that's. I think it's 1959 when I don't know when that root beer stand was there, but I think it's around that time. And but I tell you what, you're just going to have a lot of phone calls this morning.
Yeah.
Yep.
John, do you remember A&W being down?
Sure.
Yeah. See, I don't.
No, I
Sure.
remember that.
I remember my.
Thing of the past. But
I don't remember a whole lot, Bullet. I live so far out. I didn't get to go to these fancy places like A&W.
I think Debbie's just a little bit too young back then, don't you?
do you remember Ted's Pharmacy?
Ted's Pharmacy.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah,
I don't
remember
remember
Ted's.
that
That
one.
was
Yes.
at the corner
Ted's
of,
Pharmacy.
I think Alan Jones owns that building.
I believe Alan owns it now.
And it's at the corner of First and, hold on. First and Worth.
Yeah.
Yeah, right
First
behind
and
the old
Worth.
post office.
Right
Okay.
there's where Ted's Pharmacy.
Ted Johns. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I don't remember that.
Yeah, he was right there behind the credit bureau.
Yeah,
If you was
right.
on that part.
And
you know.
what I remember about the A&W, when my brother was in high school, we had a white 1959 Rambler station wagon.
Oh my!
It had a V8 motor in it and a 3-speed and a column. My brother took it to the drag strip, a Rambler station wagon, and came home with a little trophy where he had beat somebody at the drag strip. But he took me over to the A&W in that white 1958 Rambler Ambassador wagon.
Wasn't that Renfro's dad that owned that?
No, I don't think
or
so.
was it that?
Yeah,
What was that guy's name? Lovingood, Jim Lovingood.
no, him.
All right, Bullet. Are you ready? I guess Cleveland's going to make the playoffs. The way I understand, we'll find out about 11 o'clock today.
Well, let me know if you're going to be home or not.
All right.
We'll see.
All right. Bye bye.
They would bring it out, standard car hop style, but it was a frosted glass mug.
All right.
It was ice cold frosted. They brought it out to you, parked under there. So
Good morning. You're live on Old Town Cleveland.
How you doing, Ron? Good morning.
Hey, Mr. Brad, how are you? What's going on?
I'm waiting about 11 o'clock today.
Yep, we're all waiting for that. See if Bradley makes the playoffs. I don't think they're going to make it.
They do. They have to travel.
Yeah, probably to Maryville, which is the number one team in the state, so it's pretty hard to go play.
are they still the Rebels?
Yes, they still are.
Are they?
Still today.
Yeah, I didn't go to the game last night, Ron.
Neither did the Bears.
No, they stayed out.
It was 41-11, and it wasn't that close.
Yeah, I didn't go
Bless their
to the game
hearts.
Friday. I didn't go to the game Friday, Ron.
Yep.
I'm going to see Lee University take on Bryan College today.
Oh, well, that'd be a good game.
Yeah, that'd be
You know
good.
why?
Why?
Some of the Bradley players plays for Lee and Bryan College.
Yeah, Hunter
Yeah,
Chastain.
and Bryce.
Bryce plays for Lee, though, doesn't he?
No, Lee.
Yeah, Bryce plays for Lee, yeah. Okay, well, let's wait and see what happens around 11 o'clock, see if we made it or not.
I'll let everybody know they make it about 11 o'clock today.
All right, we're waiting for you to call.
All right.
All right, bye-bye. Brett's our roving sports reporter for Whoop Radio. He keeps us. Let me talk about the courthouse in a minute. Good morning, live on Old Town Cleveland.
Good morning, Ron and Debbie. Johnny England, good morning.
Hey, I know that voice. How come you're not down here in this chair? You're a better storyteller than I am, buddy.
John, I told him this morning he needs to start writing all that stuff down that's in that
Now, See,
his.
Dougie says you're a storyteller. Earlier, he said you're just a liar. Earlier.
I would say that about
When
that.
Johnny says he can ride his bike from his house to downtown in a minute, I believe he would be approaching on. He's definitely exaggerating. He couldn't get there in a minute, maybe 3 minutes, but not 1 minute.
Okay.
Hey, I could be from the time it took Lyman to throw Chester a sack of cheeseburgers, I could be downtown on my bicycle.
That's pretty quick now.
That's
Roger
pretty
that.
quick.
That's pretty quick.
A lineman could throw them things.
Well, I just don't believe that, Johnny. You know, I just,
Oh gosh, Doug. How come you're not down here sitting here? You got better stories than I do, buddy.
you fit the saddle to the horse. You got to have the horse first.
Oh, okay.
Okay, then the other just comes next.
You got that backwards. I wanted to call and say that I used to take my scuba tank to the basement of Abel's Hardware, and they had an air compressor that would fill it up. I wasn't a certified scuba diver, but that's where if you were, that's where you went to get air.
Cool.
That's
I didn't.
neat.
You know,
I
I say
didn't know that now.
he told me that at breakfast this morning, and I did not know that.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that.
I had a lot of fun with that scuba tank. Go up the Blue Hole on the Coy River.
He was looking for a mermaid in the bottom of the blue hole.
There wasn't nothing there, was there?
What else was in that basement besides toys?
Well, the air compressor for the scuba tank's all I can remember.
Yeah.
I don't remember much other than just toys, you know.
But I would intentionally go early in the morning before any mermaids or anyone was at the swimming hole, because once people got in there and stirred the algae up, the visibility was cut. But early in the morning, I could see over 100 feet, close to 200 feet underwater with my mask on. I really enjoyed doing that. But once people got in there and started stirring the algae up, that was the end of the good visibility. And I'm enjoying this show.
Yeah.
And even though Johnny's exaggerating.
John would never do that, would he?
Well, Doug, you know, WOOP does not intimidate me at all, because I have a ham radio station at home that it's about 15 times more powerful than WOOP.
We need to hook up to you.
I'm
Yeah.
1,500 watts at my house.
Yeah. And Doug Collin reminded me that this morning he was telling us about a friend of his, I guess out in Kansas, that had sent him a text message after he said something on our show last week. We'd like to say good morning and hello to all of our friends that listen to us all over the United States every week, and thank them for following us and listening to us talk about Cleveland.
That's David Simmons, who grew up over by Arnold.
Sure.
And he's got a great tale about riding his bicycle to the YMCA when he was little, and he'd stop at the sweet shop, and he'd charge a candy bar. He had a charge account at the sweet shop.
I
pretty
used
good.
to ride my bicycle with David Simmons and Chucky McDarris and Ricky Butler and the Tidwells. That was all kind of right over there around Highland Avenue and Willow, and I remember David Simmons very, very well. He was a great kid.
I
And
believe
Lloyd Ellis,
Right? Yeah, Lloyd. Yeah.
Tennessee Sweet Lord, we call him. Anyway, I'm enjoying the program. I'm going to hang up. And when y'all get to the topic of the spot, I'll be calling back in.
Oh, yeah.
Alrighty. Online, our friend Deb, that does so much research for us, says that in the Reflections book, the Horners was established in Cleveland in 1882, and the building that they're in now was formerly Mrs. S.J. Leeper's millinery shop, and she was related to the Horners too, I
I
believe.
would think so.
Isn't that fun?
That was really
The
interesting.
courthouse, torn down in 59 or 60, 61, somewhere like that. And I've got a picture up on the screen if you're looking on the internet. That's the courthouse coming down. That's
Yes,
not
I
it going
watched
up.
It coming down.
And I was going to say is that had to be the saddest. And
It was sad.
I'm sorry if I offend anybody, but we built the ugliest building I've ever seen for a
replace-
courthouse. And then we put this red brick on it a few years ago. And now all I called that was putting lipstick on the pig.
Yeah.
You can't put fancy lipstick on a pig and it look better. Good morning, live on Old Town Cleveland.
Am I alive?
Oh, you gonna lie too?
Hey, you know who this is, don't you?
This the devil.
I'm the devil. Am I the devil?
I saw you as the devil Thursday night.
Hey, I had a ball.
I was doing all right till you stabbed me with that pitchfork up there at the block party.
Yeah,
Devil with the red dress on.
I went up to some calls. I said, I pointed my pitchfork toward them. They just laughed.
Well, I have to say that the Convertibles was playing at the block party, and there was two women there in red dresses, and both of them were out dancing right in front of the
Oh, my
Renfro.
goodness.
Oh, yeah, and he was good.
Yep. Well,
Better than the other band. Hey, I talked on 2 TV shows. I talked on Channel 11, and they're going to be showing them pictures at 8 o'clock next Saturday morning.
oh,
I think the other one will be on Channel 5. I was talking to him. He says, "Who are you?" I says, "Well, my name's Elvis Miranda." Then he came back up to me. He said, "No, who really are you?" I said, "Well, I'm a she-devil. See my tail?"
yeah. I can honestly say Miss Ella was at the block party showing her tail.
Anyway, he says, I told him, I says, I know the Cougar on Whoop Radio. And he asked me what times that I call in, and I told him all
Constantly.
yeah. I told him all the shows I called in, so somebody might be listening.
All right, all right. Well, good talking to you, Miss Ella.
I'm at Walmart. I had to go to the...
Do you have did you take the red dress off yet?
yeah.
Okay, I thought you'd probably still wear it for 2 or 3 days there.
Hey, I had to go to the hospital last night.
What'd you do?
Not on account of that. I had to go because I still got that vertigo.
Oh,
Vertigo and up her
I got a Valiant.
No,
Vega.
I got a bad ear infection, and I went to the emergency room to get me some medicine. I ain't got it yet, but I'm fixing to get it. And I went and drank 2 beers last night. I ain't sick much.
It wasn't Vergio.
That's where the
Vertigo. It was
vertigo
beer.
come in. The vertigo.
Vertigo.
Yeah, when you get drunk, you do get dizzy. That's not vertigo.
And your bed will spin around.
It don't bother me when I'm dancing.
Oh, bye, Miss Ella.
All right,
Thank
Miss
you
Ella.
so
Bye-bye.
We would like to thank our friends that said that they'd listen all the time. Ralph and Judy Lillard came by and gave us a very nice print,
Well, thank you.
suitable for framing, which means Ron's hammer is going to have to
Not
be.
my hammer. It's up down the street here at.
Hey,
Go back to the courthouse there, and did you see it come down too? I remember
I
driving
watched
by
that.
1 or 2.
That was sad. You know?
I bought a house from Charlie Snyder
Uh-huh.
back in the mid-'70s that he had bought from Jim Brown.
Oh.
You remember Jim Brown?
I
He
do,
coached. He was a
Little
little
League.
league.
Yeah, I know Jim real
Little
well.
League coach.
All-state
He
interest.
built, yeah, he built. I believe he built this house, and the carport actually had timbers out of that courthouse.
There was some good
And
stuff
I lived in
come
that
out of
house,
that.
and it's up on Ridgeview Drive, and the timbers are probably 2 feet by 8 feet or 8 inches or 10 inches. They're huge timbers that came out of
Wow.
that courthouse that are in that house up on Ridgeview
Wow.
Drive.
Good morning, caller. You're live on the air.
I was going to tell you, I recall when they had Ted Johns to move uptown there where they could build Merchants Bank
Uh-huh.
corner. And that's the reason Ted Johns moved down to Worth and Street.
Yeah,
What-
Worth and First.
Yeah, what did he do?
Pharmacy.
The pharmacy. Okay.
It was uptown,
Mm-hmm.
right there on the corner.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we agree. Thank you. Thank you so much for listening. Thanks for calling
How
in.
come I have a memory of Cook's grocery store being up there on that same corner? I don't understand how that can calculate with Abel's being up there. Were they side by side or were they in the same building?
Was that another grocery store?
There was
Apples?
Big Apple.
Big Apple.
Big Apple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good morning, live on Old Town Cleveland.
Good morning, Ron.
Hey,
Good morning, Denise. How are you, my dear?
I'm doing okay.
How's our veteran this morning?
He had that bladder cancer surgery Thursday, and I want you to know he's doing fine.
Well, you give him a big old hug from me.
That's 17 times they've been in there and got him.
Woo!
Yep.
Hey, you can't get an old dog down, I tell you.
No, you can't. He's a good man.
I love you guys.
Okay.
right.
Thank you, Miss Bernice.
honey.
Bye bye.
Which Bernice is that?
That's Miss Bernice.
What's her last name?
Is she the one that worked at Moore's drugstore uptown?
We don't know that. Miss Elizabeth's sister.
Yeah, it's Miss Elizabeth's sister. And she was a Swallows, but Elizabeth Swallows,
Yeah. Well,
which was Seacat's wife. And how's that?
that's the family tree, John. You got that?
Go
He
call-
got that down.
Go ahead, caller. You're live on Old Town Cleveland.
Hey, Ron Moore, Stony Brooks.
Hey, Stony Brooks, how are
I
you?
remember Stony
A
Brook.
flash from the
Hey,
past.
him stamping the cans, putting the price on the cans.
I can't believe John England doesn't remember where Cook's Food Store was. He told me about it every year of my life since then. Anyway, it was on the corner right where Bank of Cleveland is.
Okay. Right.
And we had that one space where the tellers are at Bank of Cleveland. We didn't have the entire section that Bank of Cleveland has today.
Stoney's, Abel's next door, or where was Abel's?
Next door.
Okay.
And then, but Big Apple was down there where at Broad and Inman, and then Cooks moved down there after they went out of business or whatever. Right?
Yeah, that's right.
We did move it down there,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay.
See, I always remember Cooks being where
right
well,
there on the
that
corner
location.
of,
Yeah. My memory of Stoney. My family shopped at Cook's, and when you pulled into the parking lot, Carl Cook's dad, J.D. Cook, was out in the parking lot in his African safari hat, he would park you, and he'd grin and say hello to everybody.
I remember.
And then you walked in, you had Carl Cook in there chewing on his cigar, and you had Charlie Cunningham, and then Charlie Walton, and Carl Gamble, and Mr. Harmon, and the butcher, and I think Henry Evans was up there. Who else was up there, Stoney?
Well, there were a lot of them, but
There were a lot of them, weren't
I
there?
was going to suggest to Ron and Debbie that maybe they could have an Old Town Cleveland on the local grocery stores.
That would be a good
That
show
would-
there.
Well-
That'd be a,
show,
that'd
just
be a
like
full. That'd be a full.
Well,
show right
Stoney,
there.
you be thinking about who can do that show with you.
Yeah.
Here's the point. I got my start at Cook's Food Store at 14 years old, and I'm sure a lot of other kids did too. And it was good for a lot of young guys, kept us off the streets and that kind of stuff. I think it'd be good to have one of those, and I'd be glad to participate.
Okay, that sounds
Stoney,
good.
Stoney, what was that Miss England story? Didn't you tell me a Miss England story about you and Cooks or something like that?
But Miss England was I think her name, her job title was distributive education or something like that. I didn't know what it was, but she came around and checked on us, made sure we showed up for work, and did all those kind of things. You know what she did, John?
Yeah. Well, we're going to talk about his mom here in a few minutes. You know what I remember about Cook's Food Store parking lot is that there'd be 50 cars out there with the windows rolled down, and it's 100 degrees, and there'd be 5 kids in every car. And your
They had
parents
stand
went in the
first.
store, and you didn't worry about being arrested for leaving your kids in the car. And the
Never
kids
heard
knew
of
better than to get out of that car.
Yeah.
And we fed them lead paint and
Stoney, I got one question.
All right.
When you walked into Cooks, they had like this huge child's toy that was up real high, maybe about 25 or 30 feet in the air, and it was like an Army Jeep pedal car, or there was always some sort of child's toy, but it was something that looked like it probably cost $100. It was something that was way out of anybody's
range.
Financial budget to buy. What was that a marketing tool? What was the purpose of them having those big toys up real high? Do you remember what I'm talking about?
No, John, I really don't.
Okay.
They had them up real high so you wouldn't ride on it, John.
Exactly. They afraid of you, John.
Yeah. No, that was at Stampers. Where they would personally assign Mr. Otto to escort me through the store.
He can take care of you now, John. Do you know that, going back
Thank
to
you, Stoney.
G.W. Cooper, owning Cooper's bookstore there, I never will forget that man. He was the only person could open on Sunday. But everything, they let us go upstairs one time, Joe Tyner did, and I bet you there was 150 old Easter baskets, because that's where you went to get your Easter baskets made.
Yeah.
I mean, you could get them at Lay's and all those places, but now they were the best. And then a lot of old postcards, and I got a whole bunch of those. And then Don DeFord brought me some stuff. You remember Don DeFord, everybody. And so I got some of those postcards, and I'm trying to find them because they're linked. You pull them out, and they're linked together. They just fall down through there. So I need to find those, bring them down, and let you.
No, I'd love to see.
Hey, Stoney? Stoney, you still there?
Okay, Tony's gone. Well, we'll have to arrange we'll have to figure out somebody else to come on. I know Mr. Officer would be good, but he won't come on.
well,
Billy
no,
Officer
he
won't.
wouldn't.
No.
Hoyt
Now, he
Clark.
can tell great stories. but
Hoyt
he-
Clark started working at Stoney Supermarket
He
down
might
where my
be good,
dad is.
too.
Hoyt, and of course, Hoyt can tell a lie about anything. Hello, Hoyt. How are you? Good morning. You're live on Old Town Cleveland.
Hi, Ron.
Hey, Mr. Brett.
Hey, Ron.
Yeah.
Hey, I was going to give you the website. You could go on and see that show.
Okay.
In the next little bit.
Okay, go ahead.
TSSAA's website .org.
Yeah, TSSAA.org, and they have a website that'll show you who's going to make the playoffs and where they're going to play.
They showed the show, the TV show live.
All
Yeah.
righty.
Yep, you'll get to see their debacle live.
And the bracket live, too.
Yeah, and the brackets in the debacle.
All righty. Thank you, Brett.
Bye, guys.
How about-
TSSAA.org.
For people who don't remember, last year this time of year they do that at 11 o'clock, and they announce Cleveland made the playoffs.
Yeah.
And so Cleveland's getting ready, and at 2 o'clock they announce we've changed our mind. Cleveland hasn't made the playoffs. We're sending Sullivan South. And Sullivan South said, I don't want to go. And they said, well, we'll pay you to go. So the TSSAA actually paid Sullivan South to go play football. That's a strange. That's TSSAA. That's $AA. That's actually.
So at Cooper's, did you ever go down in the basement? Does it have a basement? Or did you just went up in the
I'm sure it did. I never went down in there.
What about C.J. Wilson's store? Was it
I
ever
went
open in
down.
your lifetime?
Yes, it was still there when Thomas Hill and Bledsoe's. I mean, Mr. Wilson reported to work every morning, but you never got past his chair. He never sold any products, you know.
He was just entertaining himself.
He was going to make sure you didn't get in the store. But the little old fella sat there every morning. He would come in. He'd go home when everybody else did. He'd close his store. And I would have loved to gotten in there, you know.
When they sold out, we went, and they still had the old button-up type shoes from the early 1900s. And they were wanting $13 a pair for them, and I thought that is just too much. And now how I wish I had one of those to wear.
Got those, yeah.
Well,
But now either
that table is down at the museum.
Oh, really?
Yeah, one of the tables, the long tables.
It's actually in the store there at the museum center. And if you haven't been to the store at the museum center in a while, you need to go. They have some of the best local artists have their things on display down there. And that table must be 15 or 20 feet
and their
long.
book collection's really good because they sell Deb's book there.
Maybe somebody can call in and talk a little bit about C.J. Wilson. I believe that he was affiliated. I believe he was a bank director. I believe he was
part of the.
There's a picture of him at the Cleveland National Bank.
And
he was
my perception of that, he was very, very nice.
Oh, yes.
To the children. You know, I was one of the kids that ran around uptown, and he would come out. He didn't know who you were, but he would come out. And if you saw him at a corner, you know, crossing a red light, he talked to everybody. He'd look you right in the eye, and you could feel the kindness. And I don't know exactly what his story is, but my perception of him is possibly that was when he was way, way up in years.
Oh,
way up.
He had already run the race, and he was just going to work and up there playing around for fun. That was sort of his retirement years. But
instead of sitting at Hardee's drinking coffee,
like Doug
talking to people, he originally had a store up in Eureka, up in the Hopewell community.
Okay.
That's where he started out. He had a store up there on a family farm, and they moved into the big downtown area. But that's some of his story there.
My only C.J. Wilson story, of course, is there was a big sign above there that said C.J. Wilson's.
Yes.
Well, that sign was missing. Yeah. And I kept accusing of a young man, I think, that got the sign, and I still accuse him today. And 2 or 3 months ago, I asked him, I said, do you have that C.J. Wilson sign? And he answered me on Facebook, and he's sitting at his desk, and standing up in the corner behind him is there's this C.J. Wilson sign standing behind
And he
him.
says he has no idea what happened to it. It's in California.
He's
yeah,
right
he's
there. Look at
he's in San Francisco, but
Yeah.
he I believe he has we called him CJ in school because he was a Wilson, and we all called him CJ because the store.
Nobody
somehow
said Mr.
somehow
Wilson.
that sign landed up in San Francisco.
imagine
the statute of limitations is over now.
Do you guys remember Laws?
Yeah,
Canterbury
sure.
Shop. Tell me a
I
little bit
bought
about
it.
that.
That was the upscale department.
Where was it?
Kind of
men's store.
younger. They had, it was.
Where was it?
Right in there.
Well, it was where Callaway's Grocery was
That
originally.
was the last place, but it started now down there right across the street, right around in there between the old that store but it started right in there across the street, and then it moved.
It moved to where Callaway's.
Yes.
Where
and
Ca-
then it
Willie
moved
can't
down
point on
there.
radio.
Willie's
Pointing on
point,
radio.
You know, and it was right
Down there.
You know, right here. Hey.
And everybody at home is trying to help her, you know.
But
Okay, for you who didn't get that.
Right over there.
Okay,
Well,
where
I
was
rec-
Callaway's, John?
It was right across from Cole's Drug Store and across from Parks Belt.
Okay.
Well,
next door to
actually,
Appler's
right
Shoe
on the
Store.
corner,
Appler's,
there
I
you
remember.
go.
Yeah,
And,
Uncle Max.
Somebody texted me last, or I was on Facebook, and they said they was married to, was it Reginald when he died? Yeah, Reginald Law when he passed away.
Reginald Law.
Yes.
Okay, I
But
saw that.
His dad and them, had that one right down there around on Ocoee Street.
So that would be upper level men's clothing.
Yeah, it was
Oh,
real
fancy
stylish.
yeah.
That was in the 60s. and
You know, men just don't dress
they
like
had,
that
They had a
anymore.
lot of
Oh,
really
no.
sporty,
man.
college,
Yeah.
Oh.
Ivy League stylish kind of college
upward
clothes,
type things that they have now around the college.
The Grabbers shop
The
was
what?
Grabbers, and it was there. We've seen pictures of it. It was there where Stampers is on
Yeah,
the very
we call
corner of
that
the
the
Ramsey.
Grabers.
Okay, that's it. Okay, Graber's shop,
Yeah, Grabers, they had nice stuff also. It was the ladies,
and then Tots the Teen was around the corner there, I believe.
That was Kitty Corner.
Kitty corner, and you could go in there, and they'd have things from newborn up
To
through
all the way-
teenage.
yeah, up to-
Yeah,
mhm.
yeah.
Now, right behind where the post office is, there was Hawks Plumbing, and there was a barber
Yes,
shop there.
yes,
What was
I
that?
remember that. Mhm.
Hawks Plumbing and what?
And,
What was that? West Side Barber or
Was
what?
it down on First Street down there?
Right, yeah,
That's-
right behind.
that's
you- right,
that's
Down around
Rando.
Jim Webb, down around Jim
Remember
Webb. and
Rando?
Gilroy's?
yeah,
barber
yeah, but it's up here on
Uh-huh.
Second. Second. I'm
I
pointing.
feel like I'm playing charades or something.
Good morning, you live on Old Town Cleveland.
That's Yank Matthews Barber Shop, Ron.
Okay, Shane's.
Yank, you know
Yank.
Phil Matthews is his daddy, Yank Matthews. That's
Yeah.
Barber Shop.
Yeah, I
All
remember
right,
that.
Yank
Yes.
Matthews.
They was a lot of. Wow,
Then you
that's
had,
pretty.
Jimmy Law took over Law's Canterbury. Remember, and he converted it to a upscale men's store, Law's Canterbury.
Yep, that was the upscale store.
Yeah, that was it. After Jimmy took it over, and then he died with diabetes. Up
Yes,
in the
yes.
motel room.
Who is this?
Did you remember that? Don't you?
I
You're
remember.
above you.
I remember
not
when he
me.
passed away. I bought everything at Harshbarger's and Stratton's. I love J.D.
I
Harshbarger.
really liked that
He was
store.
in Glen Stratton, and but occasionally Laws would get something in that we all had to have, like a Madras hat, or Madras was real
Them
stylish.
derbies,
Yeah, Madras pants and occasionally or cologne, English leather cologne. And,
But see,
you had to go to Laws to get that.
now, McDarris Brothers wasn't too far down
Right.
the line. They were
Yeah.
expensive clothes.
Yeah, well, McDarris Brothers was
They-
high end. It was
high-end
the
stuff.
It was very high end.
it was the Larry McDaniels of its day, and my dad bought all his hats at McDarris
yeah.
Brothers. Yeah.
That was a good store. I went in there very, very.
Yeah.
I a lot of times.
What else do you remember being downtown, caller?
Oh, Lord, when I worked down there at the Western Auto, Lord, everything. After I left Sony's out there and finally got uptown, Everything was up there.
Oh, wait, I just now recognized your voice. Everything moved uptown, and then it all moved out on Key
Then
Street.
it moved out. Now we need to.
I was sad when it all started moving out. But, that's just the way it was. Times change. But remember, Jimmy was a diabetic, Jimmy Law, and they were renovating a house up there on North Lee Highway, and he was staying at the motel temporarily, and he had a sugar attack. And he died.
Exactly. That's what I heard.
And out there where the antique store is now, he owns that house now. I'm talking about on North Lee there.
I know exactly where it's at.
And but he renovated that house. But anyway, he really converted that to upscale men's store there. I mean, it was already upscale, but man, he really put the style.
There was some money in that store. I mean, there was really
money in that. That's exactly right.
It was nice stuff. It was pretty. I mean, they had good stuff.
That's right. Well, they had it. It was top dollar too. Kind of. It was a high-end deal.
Yeah, you tipped your hat and you went in there.
Well,
left a tip when you left.
Yeah. Hey, listen, I'm enjoying your program.
Hey, Hoyt, before you leave there, did you ever eat at the Grand Lunch?
Ooh, yeah.
Oh, Lord, did I ever eat there?
Ooh, we lived there, didn't we?
Forever. Clyde Osmond.
That was the first fast food place in the world. You walked in and they served you.
They served you. That was fast as you could get.
And by the time you sit down, the food's there waiting on you. I mean, it's unreal, boy. That's those old places, boy. That brings back a lot of old memories. When you get as old as I am, hey, you enjoy those memories.
That's right. Write them down, Hoyt. Write them down.
Listen, enjoy you people.
Bye-bye. Up in
Bye-bye.
the picture we have on right now shows looking south on Ocoee Street, and you see the Southern. Is that the Southern Shoe?
Southern Shoe Store.
And then you have the Central Drug and the Davis Shop. And I believe that was
I
the
remember
second.
Davis,
Seems like to me that the Davis Shop had told me they had originally been there where Cafe Roma is now, and then they moved to this location. And for a while, and I don't know if it's still there or not, it would actually have in the little tiles on the floor where you walk in, it would say Davis Shop. But I just
that was
remember
right on the corner there.
Yeah.
Right,
Now, that picture's a little older. That's probably going to be early 50s or maybe late 40s. And
Looking at the
traffic's
cars.
and traffic's two ways there, too, isn't it?
Is that,
I remember,
and that's the old building there that they tore down before the Merchants Bank was put up.
What
That was the Ocoee Hotel.
what corner is that photo? Where were they standing?
This is Craig Mile.
Okay, so that's right in front of Moore's Drug Store.
Yes.
That's right
yes.
there,
Looking
Moore's
south.
Drug Store. Yeah.
But you see the red brick building.
We're in here
is-
pointing, folks.
Yeah, we're pointing. Well, it's showing a red brick building on the corner where Merchants Bank is now, and that is the old Ocoee Hotel that came down for the Merchants Bank to go up in their new building.
on that building there, and then the building right there where
Is that Draper and Darwin right there on the left?
Yeah, that's where it would have been, yeah.
that would have been there.
Yes,
Yeah.
Dra-
Is that
Draper.
what is that what it
No,
says on the
it says Davis.
Davis? Okay.
And Draper Darwin was actually where Cafe Roma is now,
Yeah,
I think,
yeah.
or on
That's
on the
exactly right.
okay.
Yeah.
And I remember going in there in the 1970s and buying painter
Yes,
pants,
you
Yeah.
and it freaked me out. Instead of them putting it in a bag, they laid it down on the counter and wrapped it in paper and tied it up and
Yeah.
handed it to me.
It was the only place you could buy motorcycle boots. They were the,
Oh, yeah.
the typical black Harley Davidson motorcycle boots now. They're called engineer boots. It was the only place that you could buy engineer boots was at Draper.
Ron's
Darwin.
aunt and uncle CL and Tommy Hilliard ran that right before it closed with the Smiths, I think. Folks, we're going to take a break for just a few minutes, and we'll be back with you in 3 or 4 minutes, so hang around.
WOOP LP, Cleveland, Tennessee.
Check into cash.
When you got a Money Mayday and can't wait till payday, get cash fast at Check into Cash. You don't need a check to get a cash advance. You can get cash fast at Check into Cash. Call 877-262-CASH. We're licensed and regulated by the state. We can guarantee you'll get a great rate. Apply online. Don't hesitate. Get cash fast at Check into Cash.
Get on down. Check into cash. Ka-ching.
Wheeler Technologies has moved. Visit them at their new location at 490 Grove Avenue Southwest next to Bradley Rentals. Same great folks, same great service with a better location to serve you. Call Wheeler Technologies for voice, data, and security needs at 664-TECH. That's 664-8324. And remember, depend on Wheeler Technologies for the current time and temperature every day at 476-1111. Tennessee Alarm Contractor C1750.
You save when you buy from the factory. Now you can save even more while we celebrate the grand opening of our new store on the North Shore in Chattanooga. Plus, we'll pay your sales tax on Mermaid products $6.99 or more.
Kiesler Incorporated is in the business of recycling your metal, and they pay cash. The only covered scrapyard around where you can recycle rain or shine. They're located off the bypass on Overhead Bridge Road. Automobiles, appliances, copper, stainless steel, tin, all metals can be recycled at Kiesler, and you can walk away with cash. That's right, they pay cash, and they are the friendliest scrapyard in the Southeast. If you have unwanted metal just laying around, bring it to Kiesler Recycling today and walk away with cash. Kiesler Recycling open Monday through Saturday 7:30 to 5 or call for more details 614-3000. Here's a look at your weather forecast on 99.9 Whoop FM. Partly sunny skies on tap today, much cooler too, with highs only in the low 60s. Overnight tonight, clear and cool, lows around 36 degrees, and sunshine for your Sunday. Highs tomorrow, though, only around 59.
Welcome back to Old Town Cleveland here on Whoop FM 99.9, or you can go to the internet at www.whoopfm.com. You can call us here at 614-5553. We're talking about downtown Cleveland with Willie Gregg and John England. We got someone here on the phone who wants to talk about Able Hardware. Go ahead, caller.
Good morning. Enjoy your program.
Well, thank you, sir.
You were talking about Able Hardware. I can tell you that in Christmas of 1946, my dad bought me a Lionel electric train from Able Hardware, Mr. Walter Raleigh Able, and we kept it, and he and I both played with it for years, and then put it up in boxes, and several years after he retired, he got it back out and put it back up on another plywood board, and we gave it to a nephew several years ago, and it still runs today. And it was
wonderful. Who are we talking to?
My name's Neil Lee.
Hey, Neil. Thanks for calling.
Neil, that's getting to be worth a lot of money now.
Yeah,
that would be.
Nephew, and he's running it some for his grandkids. So
I love it.
So that's an O scale, isn't it?
It's an 027, which is the same thing as an O scale. It's almost the same thing.
Right.
It was new for Christmas in '46. And also, before that, my dad bought 2 bicycles from my older brothers from Abel's. They had bicycles back then. And I guess the last thing we bought from, after I got married in 1967, we bought a large picture from Peggy McLean, who worked in their gift shop furniture section over there. And that picture still hangs in my den today. It's one of my favorites, and I remember it coming from Able back in the late 60s. So we enjoyed Able Hardware. Wish it were still there.
Yeah, that was a great place. I remember my old train scale. I gave it to my cousin, and he put a cherry bomb in it and ran it around till it blew up. Mine wasn't quite as old as yours, but they're worth a few dollars these days.
They are. Yeah.
You know, I always thought it's funny that Mary Margaret Able made Joe Stamper.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I always thought that.
In competition.
Competition there, meeting together.
I did not know that, you know.
Yeah.
Oh.
And I love Mary Margaret. She just and Joe both. But
She's a
we're gonna get
sweetheart.
Joe on here.
Mr. Lee, what else do you remember being downtown?
Well, Stampers, as you mentioned, on the other side of the courthouse, back in those days, in the 40s, they both had Lionel train layouts in their
They sure did.
Christmas time, to sell trains for Christmas. They stores uptown decorated their display windows, for Christmas items, and Stampers sold Lionel trains also.
You know, the difference between now and then is that they didn't put out their Christmas stuff in July.
No,
That's exactly right.
But in the weeks before Christmas in December, they both had Lionel trains, and that was a big thing back then before kids all went to computers and cell phones.
Yeah, now that's just a thing of the past.
No, I'd love to have my old Lionel train back, and that's just great that it's still in your family. That's a truly treasure there.
Yeah,
That is something.
we enjoy your program. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you, Mr. Lee.
Hey, call in anytime.
Thank you.
I love our callers.
I do too. I was at Lawson Fashion Center there. I was looking through some pictures the other day, and I thought, who in the world has got a bathing suit on, modeling out in front of fashion? Well, it was me.
Yeah.
Aha.
I've got a two-piece swimsuit on.
Little risque, weren't you?
Yeah, well, I was. They took pictures of me.
Good morning.
I thought I'd die, and I looked up, my Lord help
Good morning. This is Chris Tidwell in Houston, Texas. I just wanted to shout out to John England, and it sounds great you all talking about old Cleveland history.
Who's that now?
This is Chris Tidwell in Houston, Texas.
Hey, Chris. How are you?
I'm doing great. You all are sounding good. I love hearing about my old hometown.
Right. Did you hear us talking about David Simmons and Chucky McDarris and all of us on our bicycles riding over to the YMCA from your old neighborhood over there?
Oh yeah, absolutely. With Ralph Lillard and Jack Kidwell as directors. Ralph.
Yeah.
Ralph.
Oh yeah, wonderful memories of the YMCA.
What do you remember about downtown Cleveland?
Well, I remember the spot because I didn't know it until later, but my grandmother owned that building, so we went to the spot all the time. And we'd go on Saturday during the summertime to the movie theater there at the Princess.
Right.
Dodie, was that Fanty?
That was Fanty.
Yeah.
Footsie is what you called her Footsie too. So.
Okay.
Frances Hodgkin. She was Frances Steed Hodgkin. She grew up on the corner of right across from the old day school at the house there that was torn down in the late 50s.
You know, she and your mother, Clyde, a lot of the, I absorbed all the history stories, and so I have retained all the stories of Cleveland, at the turn of the century, and some of your family history. I've retained all that from your mother and your grandmother. So
yeah, I need to put on Facebook all the pictures of my grandmother with her in her petticoats on.
Ooh, I'd like to see that.
We would love that. Just post them on Old Town Cleveland's.
Yeah,
that's where we go to, Old Town Cleveland.
Yeah, she grew up in the library, and so she had all these pictures of herself up there with cherry corn in petticoats.
I love it. Well, thank you. We'll be looking forward to that.
One story
Go ahead.
you all need to look into that I don't know all of it. My sister, Sissy, knows it much better, but about my great-great-grandmother, they lived on Bendabout, and they came out, and her husband had gotten shot near where the bake shop was, and he died right there, and then she married the Johnston. With
right. Hefford, or is that what his name was? Hereford?
Hereford.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I saw some of his papers this summer were quite interesting that Mr. Johnston is preserving.
Yeah.
And so maybe those will be made public once they're preserved.
Yeah. Well, anyway, it's great talking to you all. John, it's great hearing from you guys.
Thank you.
You too, Dodie.
Bye-bye.
We'll talk on the phone sometime.
Bradley County has the
Thank
richest.
you.
Bye-bye. The richest history, and he's talking about how the husband of his great-whatever grandmother got killed, and they had a little argument over a stagecoach incident, and he was shot and killed, and she at the time was quite pregnant, I think, and she rode a horse from where Bendabout is into town to check on her husband, and then after he passed, she married the Johnston, and she it's quite an interesting story. Been writing on that story something. Let me say something.
Yeah.
If you have a friend that you think would enjoy our show and they're not within hearing distance of us, or they can't see it on Saturdays, we post these shows on YouTube.
Yes.
And we know that people are listening to them because we see the counts weekly. But about Wednesday, this show will be on YouTube, and all you need to do is go to YouTube and put in Old Town Cleveland, and all of our shows will pop up by date.
Or if you just go to Facebook and go to the Old Town Cleveland page and I'll usually post the link, and you can click to it and go to it, and I'll do that usually about Wednesday or no later than Thursday. So just check on Old Town Cleveland, and our shows get some shows get 80, 90 people watch it again or watch it for the first time. So we've been doing that since March. We have them all audio recording of almost every show we've done for the last 5 years, but we actually now have them on video also. And so make sure you do that. And if you like Old Town Cleveland, make sure you call the management here at Whoop FM and tell them you'd like to keep us around for a little while. They pay us so well.
Yeah.
I love the pay.
They pay us double on holidays.
That's right. Good morning. You're live on Old Town Cleveland.
Morning, Ron and Debbie. It's Joe.
Hey, Joe,
Hey,
go ahead.
Joe, what's up, buddy?
Not a thing. I can remember when they was building that courthouse up there, that they was some man, he was crazy, that brought a black snake and let that thing go around that courthouse up there. You talk about people running. They was scared to death.
He's just wanting to see people jump. Was that it?
I was more afraid of Reverend Billingsley.
I believe I was
that
too.
lived over there by Randy Fox by the YMCA. There was a Reverend Billingsley that lived over close to the National Guard Armory and Arnold School, and right there on a street. I don't know what that street is. Maybe Randy Fox could tell us what that street is.
But Oak or?
Yeah, I remember it.
It was the street that ran behind the YMCA. That was the street that the National Guard Armory was on, like you going over towards Arnold. Reverend Bill, sometimes we would get a little dose of him, and then we'd run, or sometimes
Did
we'd
he stand on the
avoid
courthouse
him altogether.
square and just yell at people?
Yeah,
Was it on the
yeah.
courthouse?
He hit you with that Bible too.
Yeah.
He'd run you down, hit you with that Bible. He's going to get it into you.
Yeah, if anybody
I
knows
scared that man.
his story.
Wasn't he a constable too?
I don't think so.
No.
I don't know. That'd be interesting.
Now I think Randy Fox's dad was a constable.
Yeah, Randy Dad's Red was.
Fox.
That was later
They
on.
lived right there. I believe they were neighbors.
He was.
Up on the screen, Ron has posted a picture of Mr. Hancock, and he was the county historian. He was also worked for the railroad. He worked up at Chattahoochee Valley for a while, or Tasso, and he would walk the railroad tracks down to Cleveland every day. His family lived right there where Broad Street United Methodist Church is now.
Read his book.
And here you have, he's standing in front of the giant clock face from the courthouse. Now, I know some individuals got some of those numbers off of there, but if anybody knows where those clock faces are, I would really like to know.
Hey, Joe, what was you worked at the Princess for a long time, right?
Right.
So, now, what was the first movie you ever saw down there?
Oh, I tell you what, I can't even remember.
Do you know the last one? Wait a minute, Joe, do you remember any movie you ever saw down there?
I used to I remember all of them Elvis Presley movies that come, John Wayne and all of them.
You know, I love to watch that Western channel that's on cable now that shows those old cowboy movies.
You can watch them all day.
I've got a bunch of them on DVDs and VCRs.
What was the gentleman that run the concession just died recently?
No, that was
That was Alan Mullenex's stepdad.
Yeah.
What's his Carl?
No, it was Calvin Harvey.
Calvin,
yeah.
He was the manager.
Yeah.
Forever.
Yeah, and Bill Edwards run the concession stand.
Oh, okay.
Then Harry Richardson, he was a bouncer. He'd get, he'd come in there and run you out of that
Now,
place.
I remember,
Rough.
of course, at the Princess, you had to have the suicide.
Yeah.
That's where you mixed all the drinks together. It didn't taste worth a darn, but as a kid,
but
you had to have suicide and a
But
pickle.
you had to go to Central Drug and buy you a pea shooter first before you went.
Oh,
so that was you.
That was me.
That was you, John England.
They used to sell him, bring him Coke things.
Yeah.
The gallon jugs that had the neck on them. I used to make some money off them things selling bootleggers.
Yeah. I'd like
You
to.
better not talk too much.
I'd like to share a Princess story. I have a Harley Davidson shirt on. I know the people watching on the computer can see it, but I have this Harley Davidson shirt on today because of the Princess Theater. And
Easy Rider.
no,
what
we
did you
would
say?
go up every Saturday and watch The Wolf Man and the Mummy. Those 25 cents movies, all horror movies all day long. But I would go out the fire escape door, and when you went out the fire escape door, you came right out into the service area of Griffith Harley Davidson. And Jack Merritt and Ed Moore were the mechanics, and they were back there working on the motorcycles. And I was about 6 or 7, and all those Harleys back there were just thumping, and they looked like a saddled horse because the saddlebags, the motorcycles were very stylish back in those days. They had like real ornate saddlebags with the little reflective colored glass in them with fringe and everything. And I'd get back and I'd crawl all over those motorcycles when I was 6 or 7 years old. And then Howard Griffith, who was Junior Griffith's father, would come back, and he never scolded me the first time, but he would stand there and hold his hands out and let me crawl on those motorcycles, and he would hold his hands out to make sure that I didn't fall and get hurt. And that was Howard Griffith. So I'm still on a Harley Davidson.
I thought he was going to tell me he stole that T-shirt.
I thought he was going to say it come from the Princess.
Joe, what all do you do down at the Princess?
Well, I was a janitor. I was a usher. I caught tickets. I worked behind concession stand.
Whatever.
I tried to learn how to fix them movie projectors, but that was so hard I couldn't even learn that.
That would have been hard. Them big old reels. Ooh,
I had some good people that knew all that stuff. J.C. Ade, he run the projector. Harry Adams, he run it too. His boys run it. P.W. Edwards.
P.W. Edwards. Now, was the projection room really hot?
Well, yeah, it was in a way, but you can open up that door.
There's a little window up there. Yeah. Yeah.
It got cool then. We used to keep that thing open in the wintertime.
Yeah, because Joe's projector would put out some heat.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, hey, thank you, Joe, for calling.
All right.
Thanks, Joe.
All right. Bye-bye. We're talking about downtown Cleveland. If you have any memories, give us a call here at 614.
If you can remember anything.
If you can remember anything, 614-5553. Got Willie Gregg and John England here.
Townhouse Bake Shop.
Yeah, there's a good one.
Ooh, yeah.
Mercy. They can fix good stuff. And still do. They just moved up on the highway.
They just moved up farther, didn't they?
Yeah, was there any other little restaurants down there where? Now, what was it? Was there a restaurant where Earl's was? Was it something in Earl's or Earl's is gone now? I think, isn't it?
Earl's was there forever and a day. I think it's a wing shop now.
Good morning. You're live on Old Town Cleveland.
Yes, this J.T. Williams.
Hey, JT.
Hey, JT. You're live on the air, buddy. What's up?
Okay, I thought I mentioned Cleveland Motor Company. That was way back, Kaiser Fraser.
Mm-hmm.
About the time Kaiser Fraser went out of business, I went to work as the bookkeeper, and then they become the Studebaker dealer at that time. So that's getting back a few years ago.
I love it.
Finally, it became Lawrence Renfro Motors, and after it was Cleveland Motor Company, Lawrence Renfro bought the business.
Now, where Central Services done the electric billing, wasn't that the Studebaker dealership at one time?
Yes, that's right. Yeah, it was. And then hearing you mention Cook's Food Store reminded me of something that happened when you purchased your groceries and went to pay for it. They would give you a bar of candy or a pack of gum. Usually it'd be a payday candy bar.
Mm-hmm.
I remember Watson's doing that. We as my mama would have called it, traded at Watson's down on Wildwood Avenue, and he'd give you a pack of chewing gum for every $10 that you spent.
Yeah,
And my sisters would sit, and I would sit down, and we'd split that chewing gum all the way to tearing a piece in half if we had to. That's how I learned the division.
Well, that's
and fairness.
Vaughn's food store, tip.
And they'd always give you the little TV guide, the little cardboard one that could have the whole TV schedule for the whole week on that one little piece of cardboard.
Right.
Now Cook's was, when it started, but you remember the days when every neighborhood had a little store around their community?
Yeah.
Like T.J. Howard's down in that, and then Stoney's Supermarket, and Tip Tops, I guess, was a little bit like that. And what was the one over on 17th?
That's
Watson's. I used to help Charlie McKenzie fold papers over at Watson's for his paper route.
John, this is JT, and he was the bookkeeper over for the Studebaker dealership.
Oh.
Yeah, and over in East Cleveland, now Cobb Guerin had that store. I don't know if anybody was over there too much, but that
I was.
Cobb Guerin store was right there. It stayed in business for years.
JT, what community did you grow up in?
Down on the Lead Mine Road.
Oh boy.
Ooh,
do you actually remember the lead mines operating down there?
No, it was already.
I know where they were. I can show you where they are.
Mm-hmm.
But on the Lead Mine Road, of course, it was 5 miles from Bradley.
Love that. Mm-hmm.
I would, after football practice, walk home. But back then, most people would come along and pick you up. I mean, I wouldn't thumb, but if I was just walking around, they'd pick me up. But
I know that Mrs. Campbell, that lived down on Varnell Road before she passed, would tell me that her husband would walk from the old Bradley all the way home after football practice.
Yeah.
And that's just what you did if you wanted to,
played sports,
if you wanted,
home.
you had to walk home, especially the boys.
Now, JT, you can't even let them stand out in front of the school and wait for your parents. You got to guard them around the clock now.
That's right.
I mean, it's totally different. I walked from the corner of Spring Place in Durkee to Oak Grove School, a half a mile on Durkee Road, and back home. You can't let a kid do it. And no sidewalks. You can't let a kid do that anymore.
It's too busy.
Yeah.
Too busy.
I remember Waterville Grocery, the McClures.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. and Mrs. McClure, that was Bill McClure.
She sold buttermilk, I believe.
Yeah, and she worked for Gilbert Guerin there for many years after they sold out. But the Waterville Grocery that I remember was a little smaller building over there, and it was a Sinclair station, and there was just barely room to turn around in there. But my family owned a farm on Hunt Road, so I was sort of half country boy and half city boy. And we'd go to the farm and check on our cattle and everything.
He was a little bit country and a little bit rock and roll.
I believe John's a little bit city, though, as much riding on that bicycle.
Right.
Hey, JT, did you ever eat at the Grand Lunch or at the Spot?
Oh, yeah, that's for sure.
What did you eat down? What was your favorite down to Grand Lunch?
Everything.
I think it's hamburger steak and French fries, I believe.
Yeah. Now those my mind just went blank. Bill Smalling Jr., who worked for me over at the cable company, he used to work at the drive-in, not the drive-in, but the Princess Theater, and he'd go down and get an open steak sandwich, open-faced steak sandwich. That was his favorite.
That was the best they made out there.
Yeah. And so, of course, I remember those Spot hamburgers and them throwing them back there, and that was had to be the best. And I don't know how they always knew that I wanted one more hamburger. I don't know how they always knew.
I guess they double looking.
They had a hamburger on the menu. It was called a Don Johnson burger.
Oh,
and,
the Spot did.
Yeah, Don Johnson was the manager of WCLE next door. Yeah. And you could go in and you could order a Don Johnson burger, and it wasn't on the menu, but they knew exactly what it was because that's
what he had on.
That's what he had, and what it was a double cheeseburger.
Oh,
and
wow.
So you could go in.
So they invented the double cheeseburger at the Spot.
They invented it wasn't on the menu, but you could order a Don Johnson burger and you get a double cheeseburger.
Hey, JT, thanks for calling, bud.
Okay,
go ahead.
Last week they had the Bradley players the whole time show up for the Bradley McMinn game.
That's right.
It brought to memory 70 years ago when we were playing. There was during the war and gas was rationed, and we played McMinn County twice early in the season and on the last day of the season, which was Thanksgiving Day, we played them again. So anyway.
How many? What?
Thank you.
Who was the coach then?
Waller, Milburn Waller.
Wow.
It had been a couple of years prior.
Right.
Well, thank you so much. Call in any time, JT.
Okay, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Well, that's great. You know that.
I love our callers.
Like I say,
John's brought in the neatest calendar that's got Sam Cannon's picture on it from 1961.
and we've got a good story about Sam Cannon we won't tell here, but we've got a really good story that we're saving for
I got
later.
some of those too.
Yeah. Good morning. You're live on Old Town Cleveland.
Yeah, I bet.
Go ahead, Caller.
I ate enough burgers at the spot that one should have been named after me.
Yeah, what was that,
The
Doug?
bad actor burger.
But I do have a hot dog named after me today at Gardner's Market, a Dougie dog.
A Dougie dog.
Yeah, it's
The Dougie dog.
little mayonnaise, and it's a darn good hot dog, you know.
You've got mayonnaise and sauerkraut on hot dog.
Yes, I do. And it's all beef. It's an all beef.
Oh, well, that makes it okay then.
He serves a lot of Chicago dogs, but I don't like all that crap on it. I just like that sauerkraut, which is pretty good.
Now,
It's named Dougie Dog.
I'll have to go try that. The at the spot. Now, I always said this, and somebody correct me if I'm mistaken. They made chili, and it was very good. And I claim they never cleaned that pot. They just poured more chili
They
in
did,
it and
they
kept on
did.
cooking. Huh?
That's true.
And you to the top of it was crusted with old chili.
Right.
Now, I tried that at home, but Ron won't let me do that.
That's called our sink all the time.
I'm sitting there many a time and watch linemen working over that grill, and he worked real hard, and it was hot back there, and I've watched sweat come off his forehead and drop down on the hamburger patty.
That's extra flavor, too.
Just added more flavor.
You know what? Didn't stop a soul from me.
It didn't stop the business, did
I
it?
always liked how they never looked at the guy when they threw the burgers in those
they
Coke
didn't
bottles.
have any,
They just knew where each other were.
They also serve breakfast. Not many people knew that, but I'd go there and eat breakfast. It was good.
I
didn't know that.
I never ate breakfast.
I didn't either. I didn't never eat
I
breakfast.
remember going and getting Frosties.
I was a country boy. Oh, I was a suburban. I'm sort of mid in the middle there. I didn't know what it was. And we'd come to town every once in a while.
Was your road paved?
My road was paved.
Then you was a
Yeah,
city
I'd say
boy.
He was city. He was city.
Well, Deb, did you have indoor plumbing when you lived out there in the country?
Yes, but we did have an outhouse.
Just in case?
Just in case.
All right.
Hey, can I share a story?
Is it about Doug?
Horners? No, it's not about Doug, but it's about horners.
Thank you, Doug. You got anything else?
Yeah, I wanted to mention Kate Brothers just up from
Go
the
ahead.
spot. That's where I'd go get my black Converse. And when I put those brand new black Converse on, I'd go down the YMCA, play basketball, and felt like I was Michael Jordan because I had that brand new traction in the sole. And well, I really liked it when I had my brand new black Converse. But you'd always get those at Kate Brothers.
Could you jump and slam dunk?
In my mind, I could. I couldn't really, but I could cut fast. I could tell the improvement over. My soles would be worn out before I could afford a new pair, and I would slide. But when I got those new ones, I'd have great traction. I could really cut, and just made me feel like I was playing a lot better. And I just wanted to mention that. Now, one more thing I want to mention. I don't remember the name of the department store. It might have been J.C. Penney's. It was the one closest to the monument, and they had a big candy thing, with glass cases, and I'd go in there and
Woolworths.
There at the little.
That's Woolworth, yeah.
And
Juanita Brock worked up there.
I remember Juanita.
All the Reese cups I want when I get grown up.
That was Woolworths, right beside J.C. Penney's.
And you did, didn't you?
Kohl's Drug Store.
Woolworths.
Okay. Jenny Piffinger worked in there.
That's why
that
you
was
lied.
the attraction. Okay.
Yeah.
It was the
That's why you were there.
It was the
Right,
Reese
they drank
cups.
in there.
I was too young to be thinking about Jeannie then.
Aw.
That came on later on. That's when I started going to Dooley's for snow cones and ice cream.
Your problem now, you're too old to think about Jeannie.
No, I still think about it. I saw her a couple months ago. She
Pretty
lives
good
in the
when you
house.
got an answer on that.
Well,
She lives in a house that has black box graveside in the backyard.
Oh, well,
boy.
Yeah.
Over by Arnold.
That's legendary.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
I'd like to share a story about Horners. I haven't read anything about this. I can't be real specific. I never could pronounce that word correctly. And
Is that an ocean?
yeah, right.
Ocean.
Right. But I read an article, a 1939 article in the Chattanooga News Free Press that were written by two Clevelanders that were ham radio operators, and it was about the early history of broadcast radio. And one of those men was Henry Gatlin, that lived up on Georgetown. He was in the insurance business. Henry Gatlin. And Henry was a licensed amateur radio operator, or better known as ham radio operator. And then a man by the name of Jack Stewart that lived out right behind that North Cleveland Baptist Church, and he was a printer for the Chattanooga News Free Press and Chattanooga Times, and they wrote a story about radio in general in Cleveland, and this appeared in a 1939 newspaper, and it's not in any of the history books, but the one of the parts of this story was about the first licensed radio station, commercial radio station in Bradley County. And that station was actually a wireless Morse code. It was before voice was even had gotten started. And it was Morse code, and it was a wireless station, and it was up at Horner's jewelry store. And the reason that they set that up is so that they could communicate with the Elgin Watch Company in Elgin, Illinois, to order supplies and parts. And they actually had a Morse code radio operator that would communicate with the Elgin Watch Company. And that was the first FCC licensed radio station in Bradley County.
That is fascinating. I knew that I knew that the Horners had something to do with that really early stuff.
Right.
And then I think later on when they actually got the radios, I think the Jones family was involved and the Horners were involved with that.
Yeah.
And Colonel Corn, James Corn, wrote a little bit about that in like that bluegrass and I don't know, whatever the name of that little book is that he wrote that's not publicly available anymore.
Do you remember the
that was a good
Cisco
story.
kid coming to Cleveland?
Boy,
I was on the stone wall at St. Luke's. I was there.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Well, there's an old picture of him being at the Speck Hospital with Lisa McMahon, who's Lisa Pemberton now. And she was sick in the hospital, and he's there with her. And their picture with Bob Easterly.
Jack Easterly,
Bob
Bob.
Easterly, that thing. And of course, the reason they brought him here was they were getting ready to build Key Street and the village, and they were afraid that all the business was going to leave downtown and go down there, and it was called Amigo Days. So, but so you remember actually seeing him?
Yeah. My sister took me up there. I was 5, and my sister Virginia took me to see the Cisco kid, and we were members of Broad Street, but my parents had earlier in the maybe 20 years before been members of St. Luke's, and so they knew everybody at St. Luke. Ran into the parking lot over there, and we sat on the.
It was just a mob, wasn't it?
Yeah.
There's a picture of me standing in front of Diablo's horse trailer. That was 1959.
Yes. Good morning. You're live on Old Town Cleveland.
I was 5.
Hi, this is Carol Lippard-Dorst, and I wanted to say hello to Willie.
Hi, Carol. How are you doing?
Fine. We're watching you from Sarasota, Florida.
Well, great. It's so good to see you. I was really excited knowing you and Mike came to Cleveland, and I got to meet you twice.
Well, I wanted to know, you're talking about small restaurants. I wonder if anybody remembers the Crystal with a C.
You know, we've had people talk about that, Carol. Go ahead and tell us about it.
Well, we had the same little crystals as the Crystal with a K, and it was right down the street from the spot on the corner there.
Yes.
And my dad, Gus Lippard, and I think his name was Red Parker. I'm not sure. It wasn't open for very long, but we had the same good little hamburgers and real good beef stew and chili. Does anybody remember it at all?
I have had numerous people ask me about that, and I have looked and looked and looked for a picture. Would you happen to have a picture of it?
Sure don't. I wish I did.
Don't you? Yeah, I know.
Well, if I
That'd be
find
great.
one, I'll share with you.
Well, that'd be wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah, it's great talking to you again, Carol.
My husband had the paper clip across from the courthouse. That wasn't way back old times, but
I started saying it wasn't one where I had the bathing suit on.
Now, the paper clip, was that a
office supply?
Office supply.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yes, right there on the corner. Now, there's where Davis
Davis
dress shop used to be.
Yep.
That's where you slid right through there when it's raining. I slid all the way around that corner like to kill myself on that marble, as you call it.
Okay. Well, we enjoy listening to you.
Well, thank you so much.
Call anytime, Carol. Bye-bye.
That's great. The on the screen right now, the building now, which is the municipal offices building, used to be Cleveland Electric, not Cleveland Utilities.
No,
they
it's
were two
electric.
separate. And that was who ran the Cleveland Electric when it was downtown there? Do you remember who it was?
And let's see.
What Mr. Beavers is for Mr. Beavers, wasn't it, or was it Mr. Beavers? I know he was out at the other place.
I believe it was Beavers.
Or was they a Hale? Or
Now,
Mr.
wait a minute. That's it.
Maybe a
probably
Mr. Hale. Good morning. You're live on Old Town Cleveland.
Well, good morning. This is Marilyn.
Hey, Marilyn.
Well, I had my Able Hardware story. Of course, I don't remember it, but it must have been around 1950. Dad always told that they lived in an apartment on 2nd Street, and he walked me up to Abel's and bought me a red and white tricycle.
Oh.
And he always told everybody that I had those Shirley Temple curls, and he said it was like walking with a bunch of springs, you know. And there's pictures at Mom's of every one of us on that red and white tricycle. It lasted for years. I don't know whatever happened to it, but it was a family treasure for years.
So probably Deb wrecked it.
I probably wrecked it.
I'm sure that it had a little step of a thing on the back of it.
Yeah, you can stand and ride those things.
Yeah, and there's pictures of Debbie sitting on it and me pushing her.
Yeah.
And so I'm sure I rode her many a mile.
I bet you did.
Yeah, you did. My brain can barely remember it, but I don't think it was around much when we got to any size. We must have given it to somebody, or the poor old wheels came off. I don't remember.
Somebody probably recycled it into something else.
Yeah, that's true.
But I seem to remember it on Dowdy Road. I'm sure we rode you up and down the road out there on it. But yeah, that was remembered going to. I don't remember going to Abel's, but that was always the connection that we had.
All righty. Well, thanks.
All right.
Bye-bye.
We'll talk to you later.
Bye. We lived down on Church Street at some point in time, and she'd walk every day to Arnold School. You couldn't let a kid do that now. The parents won't drop them off if it's more than 6 feet to the front door.
We talked about Sam Cannon being here with sheriff in 61, and then who was the chief of police around in the 60s? Was it French?
Trotter was already gone.
Trotter was gone. Frazier gone.
They didn't spend much time in jail.
It was a good one, too.
Good one,
yeah.
Yes, there was.
Good morning. You're live on Old Town Cleveland.
Ron Doug was talking about the spot a while ago when I worked at Matty Shelf. I used to go by and eat breakfast, and Chester run a tab on me, and he served toast, eggs, and sausage. And I actually worked for Lima there for a while. In the evenings, he'd let me sweep up, and they'd give me something to eat when I worked for Lima Pendergrass there for a while.
Mm-hmm. How bad was that chili pot? Was it as bad as we all remember it being?
Yeah.
Yeah. It was rough, I tell you.
Thanks, Bullet.
Okay, thanks.
You know, running a tab is something, too. I remember our family signing for the week's groceries.
Yeah.
And my dad would go in and pay for last week's groceries and pick up this week's grocery.
Was always eating on credit.
Was always eating on credit, and that's just the way.
We do it now. It's just we got a piece of plastic
We got
that does
a piece
it now.
of plastic to show for it.
What about the Teddy Bear? Was it open in those days?
Yeah, I remember going to Teddy Bear.
Now they had some good hamburgers.
They had the best food down there.
Yeah.
I liked it. I really enjoyed that. Now.
His name was Jackson.
Jackson?
Jackson, yeah.
That was good. And when I worked around the sheriff's department years later, you either eat the jail food or went and got a hamburger at the Teddy Bear. When on third shift, third shift, you had
the
to
coffee cup.
I had
coffee
smelled
cup.
that jail before. I wouldn't have eaten there.
Good morning, live on Old Town Cleveland.
Yeah, my daughter run the Teddy Bear for a while.
Bernice, what is your last name?
Wade.
Wade. My Webb jumped in my mind, and then I thought, no, that's not right.
It's Wade.
Who ran the Teddy Bear?
Betty Swallows and Kenneth Swallows.
I remember that.
Okay.
What else do you remember downtown, Miss Bernice?
I don't remember a whole lot. I didn't go to town much, but I did work in that Teddy Bear.
Oh, yeah.
Bernice was like me. She lived too far out to go
When
very
did
many
it
places.
go out of business? Do you remember, Bernice?
What?
When did it go out of business? Do you remember?
I don't remember when it went out of business, but see, my daughter died.
Oh,
It was still running in the 80s
Yeah,
and
that's
81.
what I thought, because
Yeah,
I know I was downtown, Bledsoe's.
My daughter died. Helped run that thing.
Oh.
How sad.
Her and her ex-husband.
Okay.
Yeah, it belonged to Clyde Swallows before they got it.
Huh.
And then Clyde owned Pine Gap, too, and had that truck stop open.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I remember
Did
that.
he run Mineral Park, too?
Yes, he did. I used to go down and boogie.
Yeah, that's
I thought
Saturday
you
night
come
boogie, wasn't
demonstrate.
it?
I thought she was going to say bootleg.
They done that outside.
I boogied down there a long time, but now I can't boogie no more. I'm 82 years old.
that would have been Cecil that done the bootlegging, wouldn't it?
Yeah, Cecil done the bootlegging, and I done the drinking, and I done the boot.
There you go.
Never nothing like honesty.
I know. I'd always tell the truth. I don't tell no lie.
I wouldn't pass up any story to tell a good lie, would you?
No.
Well,
I helped run that Teddy Bear for a long time.
And there are pictures of Willie here running up and down the streets in her bikini downtown.
Boy,
What
that
cracked
scared
me up,
to-
she didn't recognize herself.
Ooh, I didn't know who it was, and it's a pink and brown bathing
I
suit.
bet she was a show horse.
Boy, I'm gonna bring it next time I come.
I used to wear a bikini too, but my butt's got too big. Love you guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
I like the coffee cup.
Ooh, I did too.
I love their
sign.
sign. I
Yeah.
keep seeing it in the old pictures.
love
Betty Campbell and
Betty.
Sylvia. I think they were some of the
I love that fact
My
that y'all
butt's
can...
always been too big for a bikini.
Bikini, yeah.
Good morning, live on Old Town Cleveland.
Hi.
Hi.
Remember a place called the Plenty Burger?
The what?
Plenty Burger?
Oh, I remember that.
Where
I'm
was
trying-
it?
Where was it at now?
It was over where the old Bradley County Weekly was, right in there. I think I was just a kid. It was in the 60s.
Yeah, the Plenty Burger.
Oh, I don't remember that one. I
Yeah.
missed that.
Where was the weekly? Was it?
Down there across from the dry cleaners on Inland.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we used to live down in the country, and on Saturdays we'd come and get groceries at MC Hedrick.
Uh-huh.
And my papa and mama would take me over to get a hamburger at the Plenty Burger.
I wonder if this is that little diner that used to
Was it
sit.
a little trailer?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little silver trailer.
It was at the
Okay.
corner of
Yeah, that's it.
Parker. It's you
Right
know
there,
where
yeah.
the Cleveland Billiards is.
Mhm.
Yeah.
There was a little diner like.
Yeah, that's
I
what
bet that's what
that is. Yeah,
that's
I'm
what
pretty
that
sure.
was, yeah.
And I think, did you decide Ruby York?
Ruby York owned that, I'm pretty sure. And it was there for many years, and it stayed open all night long, I think. Because I know people work at Bishop Bakery,
Probably had
After
poker
that, they go
machines.
down there and
Poker machine.
they go down there and meet others.
Did you ever get over to Wallace Reimers while you come into town?
Oh, yeah, I did, didn't you?
Yeah.
They'd
Oh.
sell 2 cheeseburgers all night, but they did quite well on the poker machines.
You get a sack of hamburgers for $1.
We're just going down the cab stand, which never left, and
Yeah,
got,
the poker
got
machines paid the light
I
bills.
never
in
did
those
understand.
places.
Took me a long time to understand why them cab stands was running so
you,
much.
you know what? The poker machines were still paying bills until just about 2000.
Right.
You know, the lady was talking about the crystal with the C.
Yeah.
Remember the Blue Circle?
Oh,
Yes,
Yeah,
we
we
do.
just
Oh, I
lost
got
that
that.
building
No,
in
that
the
was-
last couple
That
of
was
years.
Bill Parker. That was Ron Parker's dad,
Yeah,
Bill Parker.
That's exactly right.
Good people, good man.
I remember the
Bill
Blue
Parker.
Circle, yeah.
Blue Sir Ivory, uh-huh.
That was still, gosh, I was a kid and started driving in the 70s, and that was a good hangout because
Yeah.
we didn't have McDonald's yet.
Right.
Oh no, I
Just shortly after that.
Right.
Oh, well, thank.
You guys remember Kresge's in the village, and you would go in there and pop a balloon, and it was anywhere from a penny to 99 cents, and whatever was in the balloon. That's what you paid for a banana split.
Yeah. Oh, and you get a good patty melt there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was the Jack
like that
Spratt. They had a picture of Jack Spratt and his wife up on the wall. And somehow that never encouraged me to eat one of those chocolate shakes.
And then there was Cole's drugstore had a little down there
yeah,
too.
now they was all right.
They served a chocolate soft serve milkshake in a tall glass, and I still have this visual of the point of sale posters. It was 17 cents.
Mm-hmm.
You go in there and you get a big
long
milkshake.
spoon.
Yeah, big long spoon.
You can't get an empty glass for 17 cents now.
I remember that old man that run that Coles, you know. His name was Carl Hatmaker.
Okay.
Ooh, he'd run us out there. We'd go in one door and out the other. He just didn't want no young kids in there.
And you know, down here, Callaway's Grocery was next door to Cole's drugstore when the village first opened.
Now, was it in that separate building where Watson's was later?
White.
No,
It
no.
was
White.
It's a real small. It was between the patio shop and
Yeah,
Cole's
yeah.
drugstore.
Okay.
And Lloyd Hamilton worked down there. I can remember walking down through the village and Lloyd Hammond have his white apron on, with Mr. Callaway, and that they were getting all the produce. The produce actually set outside out in the mall.
That's right. It
I've
did.
seen pictures of that.
That'd be a good way. Old New York street scene type thing, Phil.
We
Yeah.
need to get Lloyd Hamilton down here.
Caller, did you have
some
anything
morning,
else?
Yeah.
Hello? She must be gone. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm driving. I had just a little bit,
But please be careful.
You guys were talking about the chief of police during that time. Was it not Wes Snyder Sr.?
Could
I think
be.
that's a
Bernard.
little later,
Could
maybe.
be.
Bernard worked at the police department
Yeah,
then.
but he wasn't.
Because Ron knows that for a fact.
Not then.
Bernard and I met one night.
When he had his big lead foot on the gas pedal.
I have a tree stand that he gave me.
Oh,
Bernard,
really?
yeah, Bernard Snyder gave me a tree stand.
He handcuffed you to it? Is that what happened?
That's how he drug John in, didn't he?
Bernard never handcuffed me.
French
but he did take me
offered,
down.
somebody's asking Ron. French
could have been-
offered.
yeah, he was chief of police sometime during that time.
I can't remember anybody.
I think the
bothering
good
Ron.
one is older. And then
Good one.
French is the 50s old. Then I think maybe Ron Frazier.
Yeah.
And then Goodwin. I don't know.
Yeah,
Good
Tim,
one,
what was his name?
Where's
Tim?
Eddie Cartwright when we need to see?
Yeah,
Tell
where's
us.
Eddie
his,
Cartwright
His
when
dad
we-
worked down there too, didn't he?
Yeah.
Okay, caller, do you have anything else?
Oh, I was just wondering if you guys remember on Saturdays, if anybody else's mom always went and got their hair done every Saturday.
Yeah, and then you just get it fixed once a week.
Yeah, once a week, and then you just kind of
You wrap it in toilet paper at night so it
Yeah,
wouldn't mess it up.
They still some around here that does that too. Wrap that toilet paper.
And that Aquanet hairspray.
What about beehives?
it was good talking to you.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Martin's sister, by the way, older sister.
Okay, thank you. Bye bye.
The-
I always love the story of the big bird down here in the village, and it had picked up some colorful language, and they finally had to put the bird in a separate cage because it would whistle and say obscenities to people.
That was Joe Stewart's bird. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the bird learned the language maybe from Joe.
I believe you might
We had a ringtail cat down here too in the book mart, the book mart and record mart. We had a ringtail cat in a cage down there. Yeah.
Good morning, you.
Push the button.
Push the button. Good morning, you live on Old Town Cleveland.
Hey, this is Gary Dan.
Yeah.
Are you on now?
You're live on the air.
Hey, you guys were talking about drugstores downtown. My mom worked at Dooley's drugstore for, God, seems like 100 years. But when I was a little kid, I'd go in there, and the girls that worked behind the counter over there, of course, they would be late, and I'd go, can I have a banana split? And they'd go, well, you just go ahead and make your own. So I'd get back there, and oh my God, the thing probably weighed 40 pounds. But, they had all those little containers back in there that had the cherries and the nuts and the syrup.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man. I just had a ball back there. It was like I don't know, it was like playing in Wonderland. But anyway, that was a great place. I love Dooley's.
Oh, I tell you that we had the some of the people who owned Dooley's family come in, and we done a whole show on Dooley's drugstore.
Yeah, that's
and
interesting.
they talked about the sandwiches and
that's
pimento
the best
cheese
place.
sandwiches.
Yeah, pimento cheese. Yeah.
Yeah.
I got my finger caught in the front door, and I was just barely walking. I may have still been like in white shoes. I was so small.
Those good looking.
But
He wore those white shoes again in 1970.
I got
Came from
I got my
Kirkpatrick.
fingers. The front door at Dooley's. My mom was in there, and I was running around where I wasn't supposed to be, and I got my fingers caught in the front, just about cut them off. And the pharmacist, it seems like I want to say his name was Bob somebody.
Bob.
Came running out there and iced down put my hand on ice and gave me a topical ointment of mysterious origin
and ice cream.
but anyway, yeah, I recall Dooley's quite well.
Yeah, Gerald Hoskin.
Gerald, I remember
I
Gerald
think that's
Frieda
it.
being there. Hoskin, you know.
Was there a Bob that was a pharmacist?
Yeah, Bob.
No,
what was his name? He was a
Mr. Dooley's son-in-law.
Okay.
Bob Johnson, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's who it was.
That's who it was.
The family talked about they still have some of the furniture that came out of there, and they used to. And of course, you remember the old days they used to mix drugs for you.
Yeah,
there's
that
not
was
a lot
it,
of that mixing anymore.
RX stuff where they mixed
Yeah.
the drugs.
If they mix it for you now, you really pay for it.
You kidding?
Anyway, that was great. I just loved it uptown. You know, you just.
I love Dooley's
Well, thanks for
Hey,
calling.
hey
Go
Gary, do you remember your friend Gary Connor, embryo, when he worked at Moore's drugstore? He was the grill cook at Moore's Pharmacy.
Years, yes. Wow.
The Moore Pharmacy sign, it doesn't say Moore's on it. It just says Pharmacy or Drugs One. I don't remember which one. It's laying down in a cow pasture down on Kyle Lake Road. I saw it the other day.
But yeah, Moore's had good hot slaw in there and for their food.
Yeah,
Great chili.
Yeah.
Great chili.
And they cleaned their pot though.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah, that was, Gary Connor was one of the grill cooks. You know, they call him embryo.
And I don't know. I never caught him that.
He worked in the court system. I think he was in charge of the people that picked up trash or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was a cook there.
I never called him embryo. I know Gary though. That may be a story afterwards.
Yeah, okay.
He sort of cringes now.
Wonder why Randy Fox hadn't called us today.
You know, I believe he's sleeping in.
Because I know too much on him.
Oh, Lord, I know. What
That's
about
when
old Mac
Stony
McClary?
Brooks
Didn't
called.
He come from Eddie and Mac and little Benny or what?
Benny, yeah.
I was a little concerned when
What
Stony Brooks called in because he and Ron know a lot of stories on each other.
What about Big Money?
What
Big
about it?
Money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
His mama wouldn't let him out of the yard, so we don't really didn't know much about him. Grew up down the street.
That's because
from
y'all
him.
threw him in the
His mom-
creek.
I threw him in the creek all the time.
Somebody said he
guys
right
are
along,
mean,
and
wasn't you?
finally he just got off his bike and threw it in the lake himself.
That was that was at the Stewart Park Baptist Church.
Oh my goodness.
That was George R. Stewart's house, and there was a huge lake, a beautiful lake. And Gary, I know you know where that is. Is Gary still on here, Gary?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Because Gary lived for a while. He lived at the corner of 17th and Emmett up there. You know what I'm talking about, Gary? Across from Reverend Littlefield's. Where you drop off the hill back in behind Reverend Littlefield's, and you go down. There was a big lake down. Gary, do you remember the big lake?
I do.
Yeah. That's we all used to hang out there after school and fight and.
Oh,
Until
man.
Big Money's back in
Right,
in
that's
the lake.
Denny Griffith.
Yeah.
I used to throw his bike in the lake to try to get him to fight me, and he just to make
I
him
wouldn't
mad.
have done that, would you?
Like say he just got off the bike one day and threw it himself into the
There you go.
He beat you to the draw there.
Well, thank you, Gary. You got anything else?
Sure, that's it, brother.
Thank you for
Thank
calling
you.
in.
Thank you for calling.
Denny tells one of my favorite stories all the time. That he played for football for Cleveland High School, and
I
then
know
they
this story.
they integrated, and he
Right.
went from first string to third string
Right.
in one day.
Right.
They integrated.
First string to third string.
I think that might have happened to a lot of folks.
Good morning. You're live on Old Town Cleveland.
Hey, this is Doyle Palmer.
Hey, Doyle. How are you, sir?
Hi, Mr. Doyle.
I'm doing great. How are y'all?
We're good.
Super.
Good.
Morning, Doyle. He was my little league football coach Doyle was.
2 or 3 years ago.
49ers.
Oh, them 49ers.
Okay. I was thinking about some of the things in Cleveland that I haven't heard mentioned. I haven't heard all the program today, but there was a Spur gas station. It was south of the Princess Theater.
Yes.
I remember that.
I remember that.
I remember that, Doyle.
The little building is still there.
Yeah.
My dad used to buy gasoline from them, and if you bought 10 gallon, you could go over and select a piece of glassware.
Yeah, plates. We started out our home with that set of dishes. We had every one of them.
Yeah.
But that was you'd buy so much gas, and then you'd pick out a dish or cup or saucer.
Yes.
Yeah, we sure did. I remember doing that.
I remember a few times we had gas wars, and they would be the lowest in town. They'd get down to like 11.9 or 12.9 cents a gallon when it got at the peak.
And Doyle, I was excited yesterday when I saw $2.99 at Walmart.
About pass out, $2.99.
Yeah, it does excite you if it's below 3 now. It's just very expensive. One other thing, there was a home store there on the square. There was a fellow by the name of Mr. C.W. Hurst that was the manager of that store. He was a friend of the Ramsey family that lives out in my area, and it was on the corner right there where the Bank of Cleveland is, by the side of Cook's.
Huh.
Okay.
So it was a grocery store, and it was probably a chain. I remember some of them being in Chattanooga, and then that one in
Was it home? The name of it was Home Store.
The Home Store.
The Home Store.
I've heard of that before. I think that was a chain.
And it was a grocery store. And,
I never heard that.
Mr. Hurst was the manager because he used to come out to our community gatherings that we would have and socialize with us. And I think he was actually from Chattanooga. I'm not sure if he lived in Cleveland at that time or not.
There's a story, Doyle, and I think that he may, well, I'm not sure he's one of them, but there was some fellas that had run grocery stores all their life that they ended up living in the Cherokee Hotel when they got older. And he may have very well been one of those.
It's possible.
Hey, Doyle.
I worked at Cook's Food Store when I was going to high school. It was a good place to work. I enjoyed the people that traded, plus all the other employees that were there. And I had a few of those spot burgers.
Did you?
Hey, Doyle, where did you buy all your sporting goods for Little League? Was it at Cooper's and Abel's, or where did you buy the sporting goods stuff?
Actually, we bought some sporting goods at Abel's, and then later on, Mr. Lackey had the Otasco store.
Yeah, that's where you get a lot of them.
Yeah, we bought some from him.
It seemed like I got my first glove maybe down at Abel's or something like that, and then...
You probably did. See, Cooper's over there originally was a bookstore, like an office supply.
Right. They used to sell the school books to people before.
Yeah, that's where you went to buy your school books.
That's where we went to get all of our books.
Playboy, too.
And then later on, Joe Tyner turned it into the sporting goods.
Yeah.
And our Dixie Youth Baseball program, early on, we got our baseballs through the wholesale houses, Jernigan's, and
Jernigan's.
Brooking. And then on the end of my tenure out there, we were getting balls either from Lookout Sporting Goods in Chattanooga or Cooper's. Joe Tyner started to help us with that.
Doyle, I started Little League in 1960, and Sonny Hicks was my coach.
Okay.
And that's
baseball or football?
Baseball.
Yeah.
And I sort of blamed Sonny for my baseball career taking off.
Well, that's okay to blame it on somebody.
Well, now, but you know what Sonny says, don't you? They probably need a little talent to go with it.
Is that what he said?
Yeah, it may have been my fault there. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Him and go ahead there.
I started working in the youth programs when I graduated from college and took a job at North Lee Elementary, and that was in fall of '61. And I helped Bill Talley with the youth football some, and then I got into the Dixie Youth.
Bill Talley, he coached the Colts.
He coached the Colts.
You coached the 49ers.
Coached the Giants in the National League Baseball.
Yeah, I was on. He was my baseball coach. I was on the Giants for many, many years.
Gosh, Ron, you was a celebrity before you knew it, wasn't
What I remember about that, there was a weight limitation, and I was always right on the edge. And my brother would take me up to Harold Harrison's gym up there by the North Cleveland Baptist Church, and they'd throw me in the sauna room and about kill me for a half a day, so I'd meet that 130-pound weight limit.
I never.
We had 11 years old, and 90 and under was the lower group, and then you could be up to 120 and 13-year-old, I believe.
I never played Little League for that cause of that rule. I was always big. Now, also, Doyle was my freshman football coach.
Yeah.
Really?
And now I blame my football career on Doyle.
Yeah.
Okay.
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 Thanks, Doyle.
I'm taking up too much time.
No, Doyle, anytime.
Thank you.
Good talking
Bye-bye.
to you, sir.
My goodness, where has 2 hours gone? We're already out of time. Anything else? And we didn't really get to talk about your mom either. That means you get to come back, John.
I'll come back. Yeah.
That's great stories. We didn't talk about the lady and and some of her extracurricular.
No, we don't talk about
Yeah, we didn't
extracurricular
talk about
activities.
That, did we? We won't get into that, wasn't we?
Oh, I wanted to tell something about Cooper's Bookstore.
Go ahead.
When we go up on Saturdays to go to the Princess to watch the movies, we had a little routine, and of course we'd have to go to the Central Drugs and buy our pea shooters before we went to the Princess. But after we came out of the movie, we'd go to Cooper's Bookstore, and we always made sure we had a real tall boy with us, and that was usually Bill Archer that grew up over on 8th Street. And he was real tall, and we'd always make sure he was with us because the Playboys were up on the very top shelf. And that's probably the only place in all of town you could buy a Playboy was Cooper's Bookstore. And they knew what we were doing. And we'd all sneak back there, and then we'd buy a pack of Winston cigarettes. And on the way home, we'd get in the alley between Worth Street. There was a telephone company over there, and there was an alley between Broad Street and Ocoee, and we'd all smoke that whole pack of Winston cigarettes until we were sick and green, and then we'd head on home
It would take a while there in Cooper's because it took a while to read the articles.
Right, exactly.
Quite a while, I bet.
Miss Willie, anything you'd like to say in closing?
No, I think we've enjoyed telling a few things.
It has been fun.
I've loved every minute.
It's nice when we can make history fun. Tune in next week. We're going to have a nationwide well-known author, Carolyn Ross Johnston. She grew up here in Cleveland, one of the Ross girls, and she's going to be talking about her book, Cherokee Women Voices, and her World War II book, My Father's War. And we'll have Jim Hodson with us because he's the only friend we have that reads.
Oh, I remember Jim Hodson.
Bye, guys.
As always, folks, we try to say that make sure you start getting those pictures out from under the bed and out of the closet and the drawers and the shoe boxes, and get with your parents and your grandparents and aunts and uncles and start putting names on the back of them and start sharing those pictures on Facebook and other places because, people love to see. You may post a picture of your grandfather and say, well, I worked with him, or I worked in that store, and it brings back great memories. Well, always remember Pearl Harbor, and as Deb says, we may not remember Aunt Pearl.
Yeah,
Go ahead there.
Remember Aunt Pearl, too.
And remember that Veterans Day is November the 11th.
Yes.
And to me, personally, that is one of our most important holidays. And if nothing else, just spend the day with a veteran.
That's right.
And a lot of people, I'll tell you, a lot of people go out to the nursing homes and just with the American Legion or the VFW or the Elks Club, and they visit all the veterans in the nursing home facilities, and you just ought to see their eyes light up
I bet that'd be fun.
when you ask them to tell their story. So, come up to Johnston Park on November 11th, or at least spend the day with a veteran that's in your family.
Right. And like I say, it's always I think we only have there are not many World War II survivors left in Cleveland now. We've had 2 die in the last 2 or 3 years. So it's getting very, very slim. So those are rare.
Write their stories down.
Yeah. But to save these stories, folks, get your cell phone out. Record that. I've got a recording of my grandfather my cousin made. Just a great pleasure to hear that. It's unbelievable. Folks, we'll see you next week here on Old Town Cleveland. And Deb, anything else going on this weekend here? Well, you need to tell me something else so I can get to the right place here on the computer. Talk a second while I get here. Never mind, I'm here now. We'll see you next week on Old Town Cleveland.
I don't know why everybody listens to Whoop Radio. Oh, yeah, Matador's on there. He's real smart.
Here's a look at your weather forecast on 99.9 Whoop FM. Partly sunny skies on tap today. Much cooler, too, with highs only in the low 60s. Overnight tonight, clear and cool. Lows around 36 degrees and sunshine for your Sunday. Highs tomorrow, though, only around 59.
It's been so long, darling, since I had to go away. It's been so long, darling, and I'll never forget that day. Although you never mentioned it, you cried that whole day long. It's been so long, darling, but now I'm coming home. It's been so long, darling, since I gazed into your eyes. It's been so long, darling, do you really realize that just the thought of seeing you, it scares me through and through. It's been so long, darling, since I had a kiss from you. Oh, do it for you, Jimmy. It's been so long, darling, but it won't be long now.